What's going on? 10 o'clock. Good morning from the Circus Sports Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans General Manager Mike Borgonzi spoke to the media yesterday on a number of topics. He wanted to make a point, though, to highlight Jeffrey Simmons and his importance to the direction the Titans are heading.
I want to highlight Jeff Simmons. Jeff has been tremendous. Jeff was a player that came in this league and they were winning, and he's gone through some losing seasons here right now. And I communicate with Jeff a lot, and Jeff is a big part of why we're going to turn this thing around here. He is. He's one of the better players in the league, and his leadership with these young guys has been tremendous.
Two notable quarterback injury updates. Kyler Murray for the Cardinals will be placed on injured reserve, missing the next 4 games as he continues to recover from his foot injury. Jacoby Brissett will continue to start in his absence. To the Texans, where C.J. Stroud will miss his matchup with the Jags this week as he is still in concussion protocol. Davis Mills will be the neck man up. Thursday Night Football, Raiders head to Denver to take on the Broncos, who will be without Defensive Player of the Year Patrick Surtain in the secondary. Kickoff is at 7:15 from Mile High Stadium. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
You are not slick, my friend.
What did I do?
Just a little slip of the tongue.
No, what? I thought I got through that update with no mistakes. What do you mean?
You were excellent. You were excellent. C.J. Stroud out with the concussion. He will not be available as the Texans take on the Jags. Davis Mills,
correct.
The neck man up.
The neck. Did I say that?
Oh, just a verbal typo.
Did I say neck man up? The dude has got a neck like a turtle, man. Every time, when you see people post those things that are like, if for every like this gets, I will make Davis Mills' neck longer. He looks like a bunch of people like that tweet.
Shout out to Austin Huff of Corked Bats, because I think he's the one that made that a thing, really, because he did it with Jason Kidd. Remember when Jason Kidd got announced as the head coach of the Mavericks, and he had the crazy collar?
Oh, yeah.
And Austin Huff did this thing where he's like, for every retweet, I'm going to make his collar bigger. And, I mean, it got so many that, like, at some point he was zooming out to Earth, and the collar was, like, in space. Yeah. Anyway, welcome in. No Buck Rising. I don't think it's a coincidence that the sun is shining ever since Buck stepped foot on a plane to go down to Miami. I imagine it's stormy and cloudy down in Miami. Lucas Panzica and Robert Walsh with you until 1 o'clock today and tomorrow, and we have much to discuss. Loaded show, but we will start in the obvious place. Before we hear from Nate Washington in the noon hour, Ron Slay in hour 2, Josh Bauer, Nashville SC defender, will join us at 11:45. Big game this Saturday. Winner go home at Inter Miami in the MLS Cup playoffs. SEC Mike will join us coming up at 10:20 to talk college football playoff rankings, coaching carousel, Vanderbilt's path, some big games this weekend. But we got a chance to carry Mike Borgonzi's press conference post-NFL trade deadline live yesterday in hour 1 of the show. Many of you have heard it by now, and we got a chance to react to it in real time, and I think we were impressed with Mike Borgonzi, with some of the clarity, the transparency that we haven't seen, quite honestly, in a Titans press conference in quite some time. First time, by the way, that Mike Borgonzi has been at a podium by himself answering those questions. We saw it. We saw him at his introductory presser where he's obviously surrounded. We saw him at a podium at the start of training camp next to Chad Brinker. Saw him at a podium when they were announcing the Brian Callahan firing a couple of weeks ago next to Brinker. And then Mike Borgonzi got up there on his own, and I thought he explained everything with as much clarity as possible. Not to say there aren't still lingering questions that we may never get the answer to, especially considering the Jarvis Brownlee situation. But, Robert, I do feel like there is a general air of, I don't know, I don't want to say comfortability from Titans fans, but I do feel like Borgonzi is kind of the key to laying down that foundation of trust to win that back for Titans fans, given that he has nothing to do with the 3+ years of bad football that's happened here, right? If anything, the shining light of optimism of the 2025 season, it has almost entirely to do with Mike Borgonzi and the moves that he's made, whether that's Cam Ward or Chimere Dike or Alec Iomanor or Gunnar Helm, or even the thing that got the Titans the most draft capital they could have gotten on deadline day, aside from Jeffrey Simmons, and Draymond Jones, which was a Borgonzi signing. So I do feel like he did a nice job of starting to initiate that process of building back some level of trust with Titans fans.
100%. And I know a lot, we like to poke fun. He said a lot of ums and a lot of uhs in it, but I felt like that was the most clarity that we've gotten from someone in the upper level of the Titans organization in a long time. Is it fair for me to say I never want to hear from Chad Brinker again? I only want to hear from Mike Borgonzi. Don't sit Chad Brinker over there beside him like Stanley and Waldorf. I don't need to hear from him. I just want to hear it from Mike. Like, if y'all have to hear bad news, I want to hear it from him. I do not want to hear it from Chad. It seems, and this is just my perspective, it seems disingenuous. At least the uhs and the ums I felt was like Mike trying to give you a solid answer. And the answers weren't always good, but at least you got them, and I understood them. You know what I mean? So I was thrilled because my expectation going into that was he's not going to say anything. And he talked for damn near 30 minutes, updating just about everything from A to Z for the Titans.
Yeah, agreed. Every time we've seen Borgonzi at a press conference, he's looked like he wants to be anywhere but there, which, to be clear, I don't think is a bad thing. I don't mind the general manager whose entire job is building out a football team not loving the media side of it. You know, he's all ball all the time, right? That's what they said they wanted when they initiated the search for a GM, and Borgonzi is absolutely that. But you're right. You and I talked before the show yesterday. We were fully expecting a quick, to the point, a couple sentences per answer, maybe 10 to 15-minute presser. He went on about half an hour and had some really lengthy and detailed answers. And obviously there were some things that he couldn't get into the weeds on, but I do think Borgonzi did a nice job yesterday. Now, does it make everything sunshine and rainbows and Titans fans suddenly can take a deep breath and feel great about where the franchise is at? No, it doesn't. But it can at least begin that process in regards to a guy that holds a large responsibility in building this roster that has yet to show that he's not up to the task, right? In fact, anything that he's done so far, I would say, 85% of the positive things, maybe more, about the Titans season are Mike Borgonzi's doing. So that's a credit to him. And he was asked yesterday about the trust from the Titans fan base and how he and the rest of the Titans front office can go about winning that back with how bad this season has been and really how bad the last 3+ years have been with the franchise. This was the Titans GM.
A good question. And it's a fair question. And with Chad, I can go back to when we were in Kansas City. There was a few of us that were on that staff there that ended up being 2-14. I think that 2012 year. It was myself, Ryan Poles, Brant Tillis. Ryan Poles is a GM now. It's Bears. I'm here. Brent Tillis is a VP of operations with the Carolina Panthers. So what I'm trying to say is that, even though there's, we were losing at the time, there's still really good people in the organization. I get the question. I do. And Chad is invaluable to me. Chad hired me, Amy hired me to really construct the roster. That's what they hired me for. And they empowered me to do that. And what Chad does is, he has knowledge in scouting. He's got knowledge in the salary cap, strategy. Chad is really smart. And Chad supports me with all the decisions that I make. And it's no different in every other organization. You can say the titles and who's above who. It's the same structure in every organization. You got the GM, you have your, VP of strategy, cap, and then you get the head coach. And whatever title you want to give them, those are the three people that work together to make decisions. And there's no one person that, if he's got the 53, this way, I'm going to go rogue and just make a pick. But they empowered me to make those decisions here, to draft players, to sign players, to construct the roster. So fair question. I get it, Jared. But just to give you a little insight on that.
There you go. Titans general manager Mike Borgonzi yesterday on why the Titans fan base should still have trust in this front office. Tyler on the F&M Bank chat where you can hang out, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Tyler says, agreed, Borgonzi gave me the warm fuzzies yesterday. Brandon says, we still can't trust this front office because of his superiors. And it's totally fair to have that vantage point. But I do believe Mike Borgonzi is largely responsible for putting this roster together. And I do think he at least leveled with the fan base yesterday, right? In a way that I don't think we've seen in the last couple of years at Titans press conferences. So that's a credit to him, but there is still tons of work to be done. And there will be plenty of time to criticize the Titans front office moving forward with the offseason to come and the draft, and we'll see what happens from there. And if there is any more improvement down the stretch in this rookie season, because there is improvement that needs to be made by Cam Ward, I think we'd all agree. And we'll have a deeper discussion on that later on in the show as well. Nate Washington will chime in at 12:20. I think he has some thoughts on not just the Borgonzi presser, but Jeffrey Simmons and the lack of a trade and why the Titans need to keep Jeff in town, and maybe the Jarvis Brownlee stuff. Did you see Brownlee on Twitter yesterday?
It was hard to miss it.
Yeah.
It was tough to miss it.
Hard to miss it.
I can't wait for that 30 for 30 where Jarvis Brownlee gets to speak his mind.
The tell-all. Right. So Mike Borgonzi in so many words, and again, we can play it later, talking about Jarvis Brownlee, maybe his habits not being conducive to the foundation, the culture the Titans are trying to build in regards to the trade of the young corner. And Brownlee quote tweeted that quote, that TD, Teron Davenport, put out there from Borgonzi, and Brownlee quote tweeted it with like a crying, laughing emoji, and then tweeted a little bit after that, one day I'll be able to say how I feel. Love y'all, though. So that continues to remain kind of this nebulous, all right, what in the world happened there? But apart from that, I thought Borgonzi had sound logic and everything else he was trying to tell us yesterday. So SEC Mike is going to join us, and we've got a lot to talk about with the CFP rankings, coaching carousel, all of these things. But first, unfortunately, I do think we need to end this segment on a somber note. There was some tragic news today in the NFL. Cowboys' second-year defensive end, Marshawn Kneeland, has passed away this Thursday morning, today, at the age of 24. This is dreadful news that comes out this morning. The team said in a statement, quote, "It is with extreme sadness that the Dallas Cowboys share that Marshawn Kneeland tragically passed away this morning. Marshawn was a beloved teammate and a member of our organization. Our thoughts and prayers regarding Marshawn are with his girlfriend, Catalina, and his family." No details have been disclosed about what happened, but, I mean, just awful, awful, awful news. 4 days ago, we were watching Marshawn Kneeland recover a blocked punt for a touchdown for the Cowboys on Monday Night Football against the Cardinals, and now this comes around on Thursday morning. So we'll see if more details and statements come out, but just dreadful news and kind of the unfortunate headline of the day in the National Football League. But we will carry on through that, and Mike Bratton, SEC Mike of that SEC podcast, will join us coming up. Much to discuss in the world of college football next on 104.5 The Zone. Robert, I have erred egregiously.
Do tell.
We're going to bring this to air here.
Tell me your sins. Confess.
We booked Mike Bratton.
We?
I. Now here I am trying to drag you down with me.
Yes.
I booked Mike Bratton of that SEC podcast for 10:20.
Oh, good. That's now.
Yeah, that's right now. It's fantastic. And then he texted me yesterday. He said, "Can we move this to 11:20?" I said, "Absolutely, Mike. We can."
Of course. Why not? We more than willing to help you out there, Mike.
And then I forgot about that.
Oh, because we have Slay at 11:20.
And I booked Slay at 11:20.
So we'll be interviewing Ron Slay and Mike Bratton at 11:20 together?
What have I done?
You've sabotaged. Look what you've done to my boy. You've massacred him.
Just when I thought that, oh, this is easy. We could do this. We don't need Buck for anything.
Wait, do you want to call him? We could call him this segment.
No.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
Who, Slay?
Yeah, no.
Oh, Buck? No. I don't want that. Let's not get crazy. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. It is the best in the world. HattieB.com, the Hattie B's app. Yep. Hand up on this one.
We've all done it. I remember once the morning show, they asked me to book, Lord, I can't even remember who it was now, but I booked someone else of the same first name. So when I called him, I was like, hey, so-and-so's on the, they're like, who? That's not who we asked you to get. So done it before. It happens. And we trudge on. We continue to move.
Slay, if you're listening, can you get here? No, we don't need to do that.
I'm just kidding. Don't run.
Oh, man. I am looking forward to talking to Mike and Slay. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out in the break. But I am looking forward to talking to Mike about this coaching carousel. He has been very vocal about his hatred for Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze, who is no longer the head coach at Auburn. He adds to that buyout total. Auburn, what fan base should be more upset? The fan base that keeps firing coaches for a buyout total of $50 million plus, or the fan base of the program that fires one coach for that buyout total? Like, what's more infuriating, to give one coach a contract so huge and for it to fall flat on its face and give him all that money on the way out, or to have it accrued over the course of, when was Gus Malzahn fired at this point? Well, we'll say 6-7 years.
Were you doing a thing there? 6, 7? You were doing that for the kids? I would say it would be the pattern. The pattern would be infuriating to me, because if you have one charge, you make one mistake, and you get one bad speeding ticket going 180, I can forgive that. But if you've got 10 speeding tickets going 180, then there's a pattern. Right? There's a lack of trust with you not being able to, one, either outrun the cops, or you trusting your car's ability to get you there on time. Either way, there's a lack of trust there. So I would say the team that continues to fire coaches and a mass amount of buyout versus the one coach where they say, hey, we just want to get out from underneath this guy. Yeah. We're trying to get out from underneath him. We want a new coach in here. I would be more forgiving towards that situation. Because
Vanderbilt is getting Auburn at home this weekend, and we don't get to see Diego Pavia try and go 4-0 against Hugh Freeze, going back to his time at New Mexico State, playing Hugh Freeze as the coach at Liberty and then as the coach at Auburn. Pavia defeated Hugh Freeze with two different programs, New Mexico State and Vanderbilt, and defeated Hugh Freeze while Hugh Freeze was with two different programs, Liberty and Auburn. I mean, it's incredible. We don't get to see that this Saturday. But I wonder if there's any consternation from the Vandy fan base about this game on Saturday, because that's a really talented Auburn football team that has just been offensively challenged in the Hugh Freeze era, which is supposed to be Hugh's whole deal. But that's an Auburn team that's good in the trenches, that has a high talent profile, that has, quite honestly, on paper, one of the best wide receiver duos in all of college football, and has done nothing with it in Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton. They've done nothing. So what does that look like? What does the interim coach bump look like for Auburn, who heads into number 16 Vanderbilt as 6.5-point underdogs? That's a 3 p.m. kickoff Saturday on SEC Network.
Before you give that, I do have a stat on the interim coach bump and what that can mean. Because we say that a lot, right? But it doesn't really mean anything without the figures behind it, and it's really more of a situation-to-situation moment. But the stats on that. Teams with an interim coach in their first game have gone 15-5 against the spread, and teams improved from a 27.9 to a 33.3% win rate in the period after the change. So it is a real thing. There is a tangible difference, a tangible, noticeable difference when there is an interim.
You know who Auburn's interim is?
Tammy.
DJ Durkin.
I love his music.
The former
DJ Durkin. Pump it up in the Dirk Meister.
The former head coach at Maryland. The last time Auburn went through an interim stint was with Cadillac Williams taking over. And the vibes were great. And Cadillac led Auburn to an upset win over Texas A&M, where Jordan-Hare Stadium was rocking. So Auburn kind of always has that. I don't know. They've had those bounce-back moments. Cadillac Williams went 2-2 as the interim coach at Auburn in the 2022 season after they fired Brian Harsin. And now DJ Durkin, a guy who has head coaching experience, leads them into this game against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt obviously has to win out with 2 losses and games against Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee still to play. And then Auburn gets thrown on top of the heap of all of these openings in the SEC alone, not even including Penn State and Virginia Tech is open, and hell, Florida State might be open at any moment. Do you think Mike Norvell, is this over as our resident ACC expert?
It should be. I feel like it's tough because I understand them wanting to side with the dude, but I really don't. Like, why not do what everyone else is doing and just pay the money? I get you had to do that when old dude bounced. You're better with these guys' names. No, the old FSU coach.
Jimbo Fisher?
Jimbo.
I can hear Justin giving the assist
Fisher.
In the background.
It was Fisher. His voice is terrible today. You got to get out from underneath this cat. So whether they do that at the end of the year or they do that right now, I see no difference in this because your team's going to be impacted either way.
Are you eating Fun Dip on camera? The F&M
Am I
Bank,
eating what?
The F&M Bank chat is seeing you eat your Fun Dip while your mic is on.
No, they're not.
There's a giant case of Fun Dip in the break room.
Okay, all you judgers and naysayers. How many people out there can say that Fun Dip isn't great?
Oh, I've got one right here that I plan to attack at some point.
Justin said, "What flavor is that?" I said, "Blue."
Raz Apple Magic Dip, of course.
It is incredible. Whoever brought the Fun Dip in, thank you. And I'm being very professional. It's not getting on the board. It's not getting anywhere. So anybody, all you snitchers out there, you keep it to yourself and do not report me to Cumulus HR, or I will find you, and this will not be Fun Dip anymore.
There has been an abundance of candy in the studio over the last week or so after Halloween. It's been awesome.
The real problem is I keep eating my chalk dipper. So now I have nothing to dip in the fun. That's my issue right now.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. So what's the best open job in the SEC right now? We'll put it to a poll. At Lucas Panzica is where you can go vote and follow. Auburn, LSU, Florida. Because we're watching all of these parameters, all the goalposts shifting over the course of the last few years on what constitutes a good job. 10 years ago, the idea that Ole Miss could be considered even on equal footing as Florida in terms of the prestige and the ability to compete would be laughable. And now it feels like that's an argument that could be made. I still think Florida's better equipped, even from a talent standpoint and where they're located. But the truth is, I think Florida has lagged a little bit behind some of these other SEC programs and getting fully behind NIL and the facilities overhaul that we've seen across the board in the SEC. But they're there and they're behind. They're going to be behind whatever head coach they hire. But the idea that the head coach at Ole Miss could potentially stay at Ole Miss instead of go to Florida back in 2014 would have been unfathomable. And here we are, and it feels real. So between Florida, between LSU and Auburn in the SEC, right now, what's the most attractive opening between those three? I think it's a fascinating question. And I think you can legitimately make an argument for any of the three. You can make an argument for, you can make an argument against. Any of the three. That you're going to have backing, that all three have had some level of dysfunction above the head coaching position over the years. at LSU, the governor has been screaming in his Cajun accent to get the athletic director out of there. They still got to go find an AD down there. And who knows what that level of alignment is going to be from top to bottom. At Florida, we're not that far removed from the Jaden Rashada ridiculousness, but it feels like they've grown out of that. Maybe Florida is the most unified when it comes to them moving forward into this coaching search. And then at Auburn, they're getting into some dangerous territory here with the hirings and firings and the lack of a season with 6 or more wins since pre-COVID, which is crazy. But I legitimately don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Ricky on the F&M Bank chat says Auburn finally has some alignment, which makes them attractive over some others. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in.
So whenever I'm faced with a difficult decision like this, like who is your favorite Ravens player? What should we have for dinner tonight? I take all the options out in front, and I say, okay, what is the biggest non-negotiable negative about each of these situations? And I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but what would the biggest negative be about the Auburn job, about the Florida job, about the LSU job? Which one of those has the biggest negative attached to it? And that's how I think you find what your number 3 is. Mm-hmm. And then you knock it down to 2, and you would be able to argue the positives against those 2.
Biggest negative about the Auburn job
is how your program's probably thought of, right?
Especially in the state, yeah. I mean, you're a second-rate program in your own state at this point.
And you could probably say with Florida, you have a similar issue with just fighting off all of the other schools that are in your state, the Florida States, the Miamis. So you have a field battleground there. So that would lead me to say that LSU would be the best opening. Considering the backing, considering the prestige of your program, despite having down years, I would go with LSU. That would be my choice.
But at LSU, there is this blend of toxicity and expectation that can make it such dangerous ground to walk on. And it wouldn't prevent the likes of John Sumrall from taking that job, right, and making that leap from Tulane. And he feels like the most attractive G5 head coaching candidate at the moment. It's just a matter of time before John Sumrall makes that leap. But LSU, where they go after making the biggest splash hiring in their last coaching cycle of Brian Kelly, will be fascinating. And just generally what that looks like. Because I would argue, Robert, that the 2 biggest home run, splashy, sexy, big-name hires of the last decade in college football are LSU hiring Brian Kelly away from Notre Dame and USC hiring Lincoln Riley away from Oklahoma. Like the stunners, right? The coups of coaching carousels over the last few years. How are those working out? Brian Kelly's already fired, and I don't know what the path forward is for Lincoln Riley. They keep hitting the reset button over there, and it doesn't seem like he's close to being fired, but at no point has USC been legitimately competitive to the standard, the level that was expected when Lincoln Riley got hired. So then you look at the coaches that have been home run successes across the country, the best hires of the last few years, the last decade or so, and they are, who comes to mind? Kirby Smart, obviously, was a coordinator when he got hired. Dan Lanning at Oregon was a coordinator when he got hired. Curt Cignetti was the head coach at James Madison, was fresh out of FCS when he got hired, had 1 or 2 seasons of FBS coaching, head coaching experience under his belt. So it was considered a decent hire, but nobody had even close to the expectation of what he's done there at Indiana. In my mind, it's been the best coaching job. It's been the best coaching job in my lifetime in college football. What Curt Cignetti's done in Indiana. Unfathomable levels of success. So that puts an interesting twist on this coaching search when there are kind of accomplished, splashy candidates floating out there, like James Franklin, who doesn't have a job. It's funny seeing Jimbo Fisher's name coming back up in some of these graphics. The biggest home run coup type of hire that one of these programs could snatch away from someone else would be Lane Kiffin. He's the hottest name out there right now. And I do believe Lane Kiffin would win at Florida, at LSU, at Auburn. But it is interesting how those moves, the splashiest, biggest moves, never seem to be the ones that work out.
Well, speaking of what a splashy move would be, Ricky Carlson in the chat brings this up. Apparently, Josh Pate teased this yesterday on a show that Lincoln Riley could leave USC on his own. would he be someone that you would think would fit at any of these other schools? I mean, to go from USC to like Auburn or Florida is a tough thing to sell, but like it would be flashy.
He's just collecting villain arcs at as many programs as he can. I mean, he's the most hated man in Norman after bailing and taking Caleb Williams with him. He'll be the most hated man at USC for not even coming close to the expectations when they hired him, and then bailing on his own if that's the case. Is this what Pate said on Bussin' with the Boys?
I'm not sure what he's referencing.
I think he kind of dropped that nugget on Bussin' with the Boys. Like, hey, to be fair, I hadn't listened to the episode, but I did see that floating around.
I could never hate him.
Lincoln Riley?
Could never hate Lincoln Riley.
Oh, well,
of course.
Those ECU roots.
He was East Carolina's offensive coordinator, had us as a top 10 offensive program, produced two of the Zay Jones and Justin Hardy having the most career receptions in the NCAA history. So I could never hate Lincoln Riley. You will always have an open spot as the head coach at East Carolina. DP5707
says Lincoln Riley to the Cowboys on the FNM.
Now, that was a popular thing before he went to USC, right? That Lincoln Riley was a young, hotshot head coach. He was the heir apparent, that he could make the leap. I think that would be a move that would actually make sense. If an NFL team came calling and he saw the writing on the wall, I think that would make sense to me. Now, would he do it? Who knows? But
retired CSMSF on the FNM Bank chat says LSU is really going to have to overpay for a coach, and if they thought the last buyout was outrageous, just wait, because this next one is going to reset the market. Also says Kiffin will probably go to Florida. I have no earthly idea what Lane Kiffin's going to do. Lane Kiffin is a wild card of his own. I could see Lane Kiffin staying put at Ole Miss, happy there. His daughters go there. He is a legend there. He can never win a ring in his career at Ole Miss, and he can leave as the greatest head coach in Ole Miss history. That's also how I think about things, right? And maybe not how the likes of Lane Kiffin would think about things. And I also don't think we're done here with this giant pile of buyout money that's still growing throughout the course of this season. We talked about Mike Norvell, the wild ride that has been his tenure at FSU. Again, it's been hard for me to imagine the Mark Stoops era continuing at Kentucky, and I imagine Kentucky fans are ready for a reset. It feels like it's gotten stale, but watching he and Mitch Barnhart and the embrace they had on the sideline after that win at Auburn last weekend, I don't know, man. Kentucky football in particular is another one of those that you throw up your hands and say, what's their standard? How has that changed under Stoops? How much does he fall victim to the standard that he's created? No earthly idea. And then the other one that I want to ask Mike Bratton about when he does join us at 11:20. Dabo Swinney. Is there any earthly possibility that Dabo Swinney's time at Clemson is over? It's not likely. There's no way you can say it's likely. His buyout is massive. It's in that range. I need to check on it. 50.
Well, you saw his quote after the last loss was like, yeah, they'll probably fire me.
Oh, he has been... He's just been kind of crashing out at every press conference.
Through the wave of emotion, like first, what is it, like anger. He's like, oh, you guys try to fire me. Then this week is acceptance, like, oh, they'll probably fire me.
$60 million buyout. Again, as our resident Carolina's expert, could you see a world where Dabo Swinney is fired by Clemson?
No.
You just think there's
because
no
what would
way.
they do? What would who would you go to? It would be a complete culture reshift. You know what I mean? They would have to change everything around. And I think you can't really come after, dude. I understand this is the first down year, but it has been a slug for them, like him not embracing the transfer portal the previous few years. Now kind of going into it where he felt like he had a team to compete. I think it would be a bad move to move off of him this year. I think you have to give somebody like that a little more of a runway to, you know what, if he does it again, if Mike Norvell gets this much runway, you got to give him a little bit of runway. So I wouldn't fire him this year, especially when the ACC seems super attainable with teams like Georgia Tech and Virginia at the top of the marquee. So if you're going to come into this next year, I would have high expectations. And if he doesn't reach those expectations, then I would start to have a conversation about it.
The 3-5 just lost to Duke in a shootout, 46-45, where he's just crashing out on the sideline at his defense. They still have to host Florida State, go to Louisville, a good Louisville team that is very much in the playoff hunt, to be one of those multiple bids potentially for the ACC. we'll see what the ACC ends up getting. Could very well just be the ACC champion, but Louisville is right there in the driver's seat to be in the ACC championship game. Clemson closes out with Furman at home and at South Carolina. There could very well be 2, maybe 3 more losses on the schedule for Clemson. We're talking about staring down the barrel of 5-7, 4-8 if things get bad at Clemson. So has Dabo built himself enough equity at Clemson with all of those championships to counter everything that we say now about Clemson football and not taking advantage of the modern era of college football in a crash-out type of season? That, to his credit, has never happened. Has never happened in his career. They've never even missed a bowl game in his career at Clemson.
You noted they lost to Duke last week. It is fascinating to me how the Duke experience. I just searched Duke head coaches, and it brought up list of Duke basketball head coaches. Like, it didn't even think that I would want to know about football and how they've turned it around with Mike Elko, now Manny Diaz. They are like in the NFL that is going through a quarterback renaissance of reclamation projects. Duke is the reclamation project for head coaches. Mike Elko has a great 2 years there, goes to Texas A&M. Then Manny Diaz, is Manny Diaz going to get a job now? Like before, when they had David Cutcliffe as sad droopy dog, well, I guess Duke is just we'll just do what we got to do and be happy throwing to Connor Vernon. Like, but
hey,
now,
he did a good job at Duke.
Yeah, he did an okay job at Duke.
He got him the ACC championship game.
He was okay. David Cutcliffe is the reason that Miami highlight still exists. I like David Cutcliffe, too. I know y'all do, too, here because of his relationship with Peyton Manning, but he does look and sound like Droopy Dog.
Manny Diaz, another candidate floating around out there.
Yeah, Miami should look.
Oh, yeah. That'd be good.
Yeah, wouldn't that make a good fit? It looks like he would just live or get right in with those guys.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Tom Brady cloned his dog. We'll talk about it next. This feels appropriate. We're not far from this. Welcome back. We're fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Best in the world. Make your Thanksgiving hot with Hattie B's. Whole fried turkey, cheesy hot chicken dip, Bishop's carrot souffle. I can go on.
And they promise that their chickens have never been cloned. They are real chickens that they're providing to you. No turkeys, no chickens, no cloned potatoes. Nothing is cloned.
Hatched from an egg, not a lab. Tom Brady can't say the same about his new dog. I don't know how many of you guys have seen this news. Tom Brady's dog, Junie, is a clone.
Junie. That was the kid's name off Spy Kids.
Yes, it was.
The little redheaded kid.
What was his sister's name?
Oh, I don't know. She wasn't important.
Oh, no. They were both important.
No, Junie was the star.
No, Junie doesn't work without his sister and vice versa. Junie, the dog of Tom Brady, is a clone of his late beloved dog, Lua, who passed away 2 years ago. This has me terrified. And of course, it's Tom Brady to come out here and proudly claim that his dog is a clone of his late dog. He shared that news 2 days ago. Brady has invested in a company called Colossal Biosciences.
That sounds terrifying.
You're telling me. A biotech company that he's an investor in that has worked with him to clone, this is from People, his beloved Lua. The Dallas-based company, best known for its headline-making claim that it produced 3 direwolf pups, announced that it has acquired another biotech company, Viagen. I don't know how to pronounce this.
Well, that company is known for cloning Barbara Streisand's dog, Samantha.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Oh, and Paris Hilton's also had her dog cloned. Great.
What's that dog's name?
Diamond Baby. Paris Hilton's dog, Diamond Baby, was cloned into 2 puppies after the pet went missing in 2022. So the pet goes missing, and instead of looking for it, Paris Hilton said, I'll just get new one. I'll get 2 new ones.
How could one of those little rat dogs go missing? Like, it's so... It probably got picked up by a hawk.
Yeah, survival skills not very high for those the little rat dogs carried around in her purse. I don't even know if that's what kind of dog Baby Diamond is, but it's a safe assumption by you. So Brady's late dog, Lua, was cloned using blood collected prior to her death in 2023. And this is the statement from Brady. Quote, I love my animals. They mean the world to me and my family. A few years ago, I worked with Colossal and leveraged their non-invasive cloning technology through a simple blood draw of our family's elderly dog before she passed. The company, quote, gave my family a second chance with a clone of our beloved dog. Listen to that sentence. Listen to that. He added that he is excited how Colossal and this other company, who I can't pronounce, is tech, together can help both families losing their beloved pets while helping to save endangered species.
It's not the same dog, dude. It's not like you took the brain out of Lua and it's like, hey, remember you like to do this, right? It's a completely different dog. It doesn't have the memories. Also, this is stuff that rich people do. Like, okay,
Boy, yeah.
I have so much money. I don't want to feel the bad feeling of death. I don't want to feel about loss or suffering. I don't want to feel those feelings. So how do I make me feel better? How do I make myself feel better? Oh, I'll take a vial of blood from this dog and make, when in all actuality, they could have went to a shelter and adopted essentially the same thing. Just lie to yourself. Just convince yourself that this dog you're getting from the shelter.
It's like a reincarnation.
It's like, oh yes, when my dog passed, I put some of its hair in this dog bowl full of food and the other dog ate it, so a piece of my dog will always be inside this dog. That's a terrible thing. And this is coming from somebody who I am terrible with loss. I am terrible with acknowledging that someone is gone. But that is a natural human feeling. You have to allow yourself to digest those feelings. It doesn't just stop because you brought a clone of a dog back, because you have, it looks just like him. I don't feel like I miss him anymore. You have to feel those things.
It's concerning.
That is part of the human experience. It sucks, but it also makes you appreciate the things that you still have after the loss. So, Tom Brady, stop running from your feelings. You don't have to win everything. You don't have to feel good all the time. It's okay if your dog dies. But this begs the question, have you ever had a pet that you would consider cloning?
We put it to a poll at Lucas Panzica on Twitter. Is where you can go vote. Right now, it's 53% are saying yes.
Has anyone attached the pictures?
We've gotten multiple pictures of some good boys.
Where, and what about good boys, as in just dogs? No one has wanted to clone a cat?
I haven't seen a cat yet. No.
How
would you clone Winston? Yeah, put your money. You're gonna take shots at Tom Brady. Would you pet cemetery your cat Winston or Paris?
No, never Paris. She's my little fat girl. I love her, but she's not bound to me. She's bound to Cheyenne.
Okay.
That's really tough. That's a tough question. One, no, because I would never have the money. But if miraculously I woke up with a genie that was like, hey, your wish is my command, whatever Robin Williams sings in Aladdin, do you want a clone of Winston? I would probably say no. And I'll tell you why. Because in the quiet moments that you have alone with your pets in your home, it's you, them, you're watching TV, maybe they're on your lap, you're just giving them some good skiddly paps on the butt or whatever your cat or dog likes. Those are the moments that you have, and you have a finite number of them. So it would be very tough for me, and it would be, I can understand how it would be easy for someone who had this much money to go like, yeah, give me a clone, whatever, make this hurt go away. But again, I think you have to feel these things. So those silent moments that I've had with Winston where he's laying on my chest and purring and being a sweet little boy, that is what I will choose to have over having his memory's sake, his life's sake, cloned into another physical copy. I would much rather go adopt a cat from one of the many, many animal shelters around Nashville to pick up an animal than to clone one. There are plenty of cats out there who need love, plenty of dogs out there who are never going to have an owner, and they're going to get put to sleep because someone won't take the time to go find them. So no, I would not clone my pet as much as I love him, and I would fight, kill, steal, borrow anything for that cat. But I would not clone him.
The F&M Bank chat has thoughts. 104.5 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. You can also chime in via the phone, 615-737-1045. Tyler says, I don't know, man. This sounds unhealthy for the grieving process. Derek says, Tom Brady is a direct-to-DVD Bond villain. Lewis says, surprised he didn't clone a wife.
I also like Brandon Scott. Buck's about to have the same cat for 40 years.
Buck would clone his cat.
100%.
100%.
Buck would clone every cat.
Yes. Rather than save a cat in need, Buck would just continue on the life of Frankie or Leo or one of his cats.
I will say Buck does support a lot of cats' lives. He does help a lot of the cats in his community.
He does.
So
they all gather in his tiny backyard.
I love you, fat ogre, if you're listening right now.
Have you seen Pet Sematary?
Yes, it's terrifying.
Oh, it messed me up, man.
Oh, yeah, let's bring them back. And it's just like, or like a Cujo. Like, they come back in the sky. It's scary. I would not want a pet cemetery, one of my pets. I also grew up on a farm, so I think I'm desensitized to animals passing away because I had to see. I mean, I've told you this story. I don't know if I've told it on air, but when I was a really young kid, my dad, we used to raise pigs in the pasture in like this little pen, and my dad gave me a little one. Little tiny, like when you pick them up, like just a little baby pig. I took that pig and raised it from something I could hold in my arms to something that was so large, like when we had to move it inevitably.
What was his name?
Oinky.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, well, not so nice. So kept it, grew it, the time spent together, taking his food down there every day, dumping the slop bucket out, watching him eat, rubbing him, and those coarse hairs that grow on pigs' backs. And then one day, my dad gathered me and said, hey, let's go to the pasture. He's holding a rifle.
Oh, no.
He makes me go down there, and he makes me do the deed to Oinky. Yes.
Oh.
And I'm crying. I'm just like, it's kid crying too. So it's like, slobber coming out of my nose. And the thing about pigs is they have a very tiny brain, very eeny brain. So if you're when you have to do the deed, you can't miss.
No.
And if you do, you just hear like,
no, Oinky.
So, dude, you're going through the same pace as I did. So I have been desensitized. So it's a hard word to say. It's hard for me to get through it. R.I.P. Oinky. So goodness. I will say, love animals, but there's also a piece of human experience you have to do in letting it go.
That would have done some very permanent damage to me.
I miss Oinky, man. I miss Oinky. I will never make my kids do that. They'll just enjoy the sausage. How did this get here? Maybe when you're older, son. Maybe not when you're 6 years old in third grade.
So brutal.
Make you come down here and end your pet pig.
6 years old in third grade.
Or where?
You're a super genius.
I don't know the age. I was, though. I was a very smart child.
Of course it's Tom Brady doing this. Of course, who looks like a clone, who just looks like a better version of his 25-year-old self at the age of, what is he, 45 at this point?
Is he going to clone himself?
Of course, it's tough, probably, and then go win 7 more Super Bowls.
Oh,
that's what's going to happen.
Why did you say that? He's like, yes, the children that my wife bore me were not athletic specimen-y enough. I will clone myself. Which, by the way, he's not athletic specimen-y enough for this either.
Oh, this is concerning stuff. Concerning stuff, but it feels like it's where we're headed. I don't know where Tennessee football is headed over the next couple of years, but there have been some crazy thoughts out there from Vols fans. And we'll talk about the Josh Heupel approval rating coming up, hour 2 of the show on 104.5 The Zone.
11 o'clock, good afternoon from the Circus Sports Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans general manager Mike Borgonzi spoke to the media yesterday on a number of topics. He wanted to make a point to highlight Jeffrey Simmons and his importance to the direction that the Titans are heading.
I want to highlight Jeff Simmons. Jeff has been tremendous. Jeff was a player that came in this league and they were winning, and he's gone through some losing seasons here right now. And I communicate with Jeff a lot, and Jeff is a big part of why we're going to turn this thing around here. He is. He's one of the better players in the league, and his leadership with these young guys has been tremendous.
Two notable quarterback injuries to update you guys on. Kyler Murray will be placed on injured reserve, mixing the next 4 games as they continue to recover from a foot injury. Jacoby Brissett will continue to start in his absence to the Texans, where C.J. Stroud will also miss his matchup with the Jags. While he is still in concussion protocol, Davis Mills will be the next man up. Thursday Night Football tonight, Raiders head to Denver to take on the Broncos, who will be without Defensive Player of the Year Patrick Surtain in the secondary. Kickoff is at 7:15 from Mile High Stadium. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
So we have rescheduled Ron Slay. He will join us on Tuesday. Tuesday at 10:20, talking college basketball. And one thing that I really do want to talk to him about, a call that 3HL received yesterday afternoon concerning Josh Heupel, railing on Josh Heupel. How if he has another loss, like the one he had last Saturday against Oklahoma, self-inflicted wounds, yes, some clock management, game management issues, especially late in the fourth quarter, then this caller is out on Heupel as the head coach at Tennessee. And this is a discourse that we've kind of avoided this week. Welcome back, Lucas and Robert, with you until 1 o'clock. At Lucas Panzica, at Robbie_Walsh. Buck will be back whenever he's back. We don't mind him staying away.
He was supposed to be back tomorrow, and we told him just don't come back.
Please don't.
Yeah, just
we
stay
don't want
home,
that.
dude.
We're fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. But the discourse around Josh Heupel has been something to monitor over the last few days. Now, it's the Tennessee fan base. It's rabid. We understand all these things. Fanatic. But the amount of voices in college football that have come out, like the Kirk Herbstreits of the world, and said, this is ridiculous. Even the thought of Josh Heupel potentially being in any hot seat discussion with the Tennessee fan base is ridiculous. You had former Tennessee quarterback Jonathan Crompton, who we've had on the show, who was on with A to Z Sports, the Big Orange podcast, the post-game show with Charlie Burris, reacting to Tennessee's loss to Oklahoma, saying essentially that Heupel is Tennessee's James Franklin, that there's a ceiling there. That 11-win mark is kind of his ceiling. Here was the that's the wrong quote. Here's the quote from Jonathan Crompton. I'm not the one to call for a coach to get fired. That's not my thing. Again, this was on the Big Orange podcast post-game show, A to Z Sports. What I'm saying is I do think Heupel is our James Franklin. He's going to win us 9 to 10 ball games a year. The odd year will get 11, and that's about our ceiling. 615-737-1045. Where are you on the Josh Heupel discourse? Now, to be clear, just to kind of set the stage, it's bat bleep crazy to insinuate anything even close to Josh Heupel needs to be in hot seat consideration at Tennessee. It's insane to be saying that at the moment. It is fascinating the way the goalposts have moved this year on Tennessee's expectations for the season. And I don't think that's unfair. Going in, I even called this a gap year for Tennessee football, right? Like 8-4, 9-3 at best. Let's win some games, keep your head above the water, understanding you were put in a really tough spot with the Nico situation that was made an even tougher spot in week 1 when Ricky Gibson goes down. Jermont McCoy's still not back. That's your top 2 corners. You've been banged up in various parts of the roster. But then Joey Aguilar kind of burst onto the scene. And if I'm not mistaken, he's still the SEC's lead passer. And then things change when you're a missed 37-yard field goal away from beating Georgia, and you went toe-to-toe with Georgia really for the first time in the Heupel era, for the first time since you beat them on that Hail Mary back in 2016. I mean, competing up front on the lines of scrimmage in a shootout. And then everything changed from the Georgia game. That was a setback, but it still turned to, okay, we lost. We have that L on the resume, but this went from, all right, let's just go 8-4 here to, nope, this is a playoff team, playoff or bust. And then Tennessee went down to Tuscaloosa, shot itself in the foot a few times, ended up losing that game by 17. And then the Oklahoma game happened. And I said on Monday, I think it is the worst home loss of the Heupel era. Not that that's a terribly strong statement. Since the start of 2022, Tennessee has not lost to any team not named Georgia in Neyland Stadium. Oklahoma was the first. And it's because of the way they lost, right? Missed assignment here, blindside hit on Aguilar, 70-yard scoop and score on a drive that looked like was destined to have Tennessee up 14-0, red-hot start in front of a rocking crowd. Dark mode uniforms, the whole deal. 2 bad interceptions by Aguilar in Oklahoma territory. Missed 37-yard field goal at the end of the first half. And then the fourth quarter scenario, from a clock management standpoint, was not good from Heupel. Tennessee had the football, down 2 scores, with 3 minutes and 12 seconds left. A chance, only 2 timeouts, a chance to go down, get points, whether field goal or touchdown, to get it to a 1-score game, and you can get a stop and get the ball back with time enough to go down and go get a win. Robert, with 3:12, Tennessee took over. They ran 2 plays for 17 yards into the 2-minute warning. One of the fastest offenses in college football couldn't get more than 2 plays for 17 yards in the span of a minute, 12 seconds. It just was poor. The management was poor. You run out to the 2-minute warning, and then you came back after the 2-minute warning and just had to kick the field goal anyway. It was not good. And there's been some of that situational stuff that's popped up. But this standard of any time there's an in-game mistake that costs you in a year where you weren't even supposed to be in the playoff discussion, it's out of control. It's out of control. Those things have to stack before you start to talk about a coach being fired. We don't need to go over all of the accolades, the ways that Josh Heupel has brought Tennessee out of the darkness. And there is frustration, and Heupel is absolutely at fault for some of that, no question. There have been play-calling moments this season that you haven't really had in the Heupel era, questionable moments like the goal line play-action call that results in a pick six, a game-changing play at Alabama. The 4th-and-1 decision to pretty much have the same play call against Oklahoma and throw to a true freshman tight end who had caught maybe 2 passes all year in a huge moment, and he drops the ball. But let's not get out of control with it, right? This lofty standard, I feel like, has been applied to Nick Saban and Kirby Smart to where these mistakes go under such a bigger microscope. And you call for a coach's job after 1 to 2 games with questionable clock management just seems so insane to me. It's kind of the world we're in right now. But every team across college football at this point is imperfect. There is not a single head coach without criticisms right now in college football. So rightfully, I think we're seeing a lot of big voices call it just insane to even mention Josh Heupel and hot seat in the same sentence. It doesn't mean there's not criticisms. But making that leap, I mean, there's so much middle ground there. 615-737-1045. So let's talk to you about it. Isaiah in Cookeville is up first. Hey, Isaiah.
Hey, guys. How are y'all doing?
Good, man. What you got?
Well, I would just like to say I agree with you wholeheartedly. This Tennessee fan base the last couple of years has been so spoiled with all the winning and stuff. We need to look back on the former coaches that we had here in Tennessee and realize we were bad at football back in the day. Like, it was so bad, and Josh Heupel came in, brought us a winning mindset. We lost a lot of pieces in the last draft and transfer portal. I saw ourselves going 7-5 minimum, 8-4 max with the schedule that we had. We had Georgia. We lost close to them, even though field goal wins it at the end of the game there. But he's a kid. Kickers miss. That happens. He made up for it in overtime. We still lost the game. That's done and over with. The game clock management was iffy in Oklahoma, but that game was already out of reach after the fact that we cannot we just couldn't tackle. Coaches preach about making fundamental plays and stuff.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Isaiah. That is 60 seconds on the clock. Just got to keep it moving. But do appreciate the call and good points. And you're absolutely right. Like, there is context there to the coaches that preceded Heupel and what he has dragged Tennessee out of, something that multiple coaches weren't able to do. I do think that is a slippery slope to go down, though, because at some point, and this is a credit to Heupel, at some point the standard is reestablished at Tennessee. And I don't think it's the craziest thing to, at some point, ask that question of, is this the coach that can win you a title? And if he's not, you have to consider making that leap. A risky leap, yes, but it's about the standards of your program. And we saw that. The biggest example of it was Georgia, right? With the firing of Mark Richt to go get Kirby Smart. That type of risky play that led to a national championship winning leap for Georgia. Doesn't always go in that direction. But you have to ask yourself, what is truly the standard of the program? And I don't think just because Tennessee had so many lean years before Heupel, that should kind of be the barometer, right? That unless Heupel's tenure at Tennessee bottoms out that way, he should never be fired. There is middle ground there. And it's a fair question to ask at some point. Is Heupel the guy to take you to that promised land? Is that something that's that seriously in doubt right now with the recruiting class Tennessee has in line and how he's overachieved this season with Joey Aguilar? No, absolutely it's not, in my opinion. Tommy in Nashville's next. Hey, Tommy.
Hello. I've been a season ticket holder for over 30 years. I think it's ridiculous thinking about even mentioning him getting fired. I will say I've got a couple of concerns. One of them is there's too much walking around out there on the field. I don't know if it's a conditioning problem or whatever, but in some of the games I'm seeing a lot of walking going on and between plays. And the other thing is, I don't think we run our quarterback enough. Look at Oklahoma, how they use their quarterback. When we use our quarterback running the ball, we usually have good plays, but it just doesn't happen that often. I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for the call, Tommy. Yeah, I think there's something to that. I think that was a discussion with Nico. Early onset of this season, Tennessee, I thought, looked more willing to run Joey Aguilar. That's been dialed back a little bit. Was a big strength of Hendon Hooker's. They were very selective in the quarterback run, but it was effective. But fair. And, Tommy, there are criticisms across the board, absolutely, in a season like this where you yourself, as a football team, are a big reason why you're not in the playoff. You're down your top two corners, yes, but it doesn't fix a lot of the tackling issues you've had this season, a lot of the miscues on defense, the red zone issues on offense. But making the leap to calling for a job is crazy. And David Ubben made the point yesterday with us of The Athletic. You can go back and listen on the podcast, the Buck Rising Show, if you didn't get a chance to listen. But Tennessee, for the first time, is matching up with the likes of Alabama and Georgia physically. They're in those games. They have opportunities to win those games. It takes a big leap to then go towards talking about firing a coach. That's what LSU had to do with Brian Kelly when you saw how far they were from the likes of Texas A&M. That's what Auburn had to do with Hugh Freeze. That's not a discussion that needs to be happening in Knoxville. Bill in Nashville's next. Hey, Bill.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. I just want to call and defend Coach Heupel. I do not think that he needs to be on the hot seat. I do think that he does need to maybe look at some of his coaching staff. I'm not saying fire anyone, but maybe add to. There's a lot more to defense than just calling the X's and O's. I think we need to really focus and get back to fundamentals and be a blue-collar defense instead of the finesse attempt at tackling that they're doing. They're missing too many tackles by trying to finesse a player to the ground. They need to get back to fundamentals of wrapping up and tackling. I think the coaching staff is on the right track. In Coach Hype's defense, he's had to learn a whole new conference when he came from UCF. The SEC was a totally different animal than he was ever used to before. I do think he's evolving. I think that evolving is coming, but I do think with that evolution he needs to reassess and look at some of his player assessments and just look at when he is recruiting or looking into the portal, who he is looking at and how will they fit and play in the SEC. Yes, I know he's doing that, but I think he's missed on a handful of those on the defense.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Appreciate you chiming in. Yes, there are criticisms to be had this year. A lot of things on defense that Tennessee has to fix in the offseason. Defense coordinator Tim Banks, I will remind folks, had Tennessee with one of the elite defenses of college football a year ago. So we'll see what kind of changes come about in the offseason, and we will take more of your phone calls. We'll also get Mike Bratton, SEC Mike's thoughts on this next. All right, so we got some measured reactions there. Thought we might have opened a can of worms there, and here's some Vol fans on the phones yelling for Josh Heupel's job like I heard yesterday on 3HL. Wasn't the case. Wasn't the case. We'll go back to the phones in a little bit. Let's hear Mike Bratton's thoughts. You might know him as SEC Mike as we welcome you back. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. That SEC podcast breaking down all things in the Southeastern Conference as we are coming off the first CFP ranking. More games to go. Mike, how are you? Appreciate you being here. Oh, might be muted. I think you might be muted on your end. There it is.
Oh, I had a good line, but I wasted it.
No. Let's hear it. You had it prepared. Let's hear it.
I said I was doing good, but now I'm hungry. You mentioned Hattie B's, so it's lunchtime over here.
Southern, 2 words, Mike, cornbread croutons on those Southern salads. So any one of Tennessee 7 Middle Tennessee locations, I'm sure you're nearby. I mean, we just spent the last segment taking some calls, talking about this discourse that I guess is out there around Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel, and there are absolutely criticisms, Mike. But to you, I'm curious what the discussion has been with you and Cousin Shane on that SEC podcast. Where is that line between deserved and undeserved criticism for Tennessee's head coach?
Oh, Saturday night, Shane wanted him fired. Get him out of here. Send him to LSU. They can take him. But no, we kid. Yeah, I mean, he's doing a heck of a job, but I get the frustration. I mean, that was quite the scene. That was one of the best scenes, and arguably, I don't know how in tune you are with the Oklahoma folks or their media, but they were kind of blown away by the atmosphere of Neyland Stadium with the dark mode and everything. But it is what it is. This is the SEC now, where one mistake here or there can really kill you. There's so little separation. I thought Oklahoma was going to win that game, and so I wasn't surprised or anything. But I always thought this was going to be a down year for Tennessee. I think they played better than even I thought they would. So I get the frustration. Playoff was right there in front of them. But I'll tell you, even if they would have beaten Oklahoma, I think they would have lost. I think they would have lost to Florida or Vanderbilt. So I don't think Tennessee was going to the playoff anyway. I don't know how anybody has really intently watched this team and said, man, this is a playoff team right here.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of the criticism as well. There's been a lot of challenges on the roster, obviously the Nico stuff, the injuries at cornerback, but maybe that discourse changes, Mike, and some of the Vols fans that were calling into the show defending Heupel a segment ago aren't going to be singing the same tune if they do go down and lose to Florida or if they lose to Vanderbilt and watch the Commodores get into the playoff without them. But is there anything that could happen this year for you to fundamentally change your mind about Josh Heupel and where he has this program going beyond 2025?
Well, I think the biggest criticism you could have, and I doubt, many of your callers or people, people would just move on, right? When you win a game, good job. You lose it, guy's a complete idiot. But I think the biggest issue that I have with Heupel is the clock management, and particularly the Mississippi State game. I think he would have got roasted had Tennessee lost that game in overtime because they got the ball back. If my memory's right, it was about 1:20 something on the clock. They had multiple timeouts, and they didn't even get a field goal off, even though they were able to move the football because they ran out of time because of the clock management. And this has been an issue in several games now. So, to answer your question, there's things to nitpick about because they're not winning at an elite level like they were last year and they did a couple years ago when they went to the Orange Bowl, but I'm not seeing anything that says it's disaster. Again, it's just we can sit here today. We probably have Georgia. I bet you have Georgia as an elite team, right? And you probably should because they've got a really good record. They may win the SEC. They may win the national championship, but they're about 3 plays away from having a losing record. So, that's just what the SEC is now. I just don't think there's a large gap between the elite and the not in this conference.
Yeah, and there has been disaster in some places. That's why some jobs are open, and we'll certainly get to that with SEC Mike with us on 104.5 The Zone. But I do want to ask you after Tuesday night, is there an SEC team that should be taking issue with Tuesday's college football playoff ranking?
Probably the hometown team here, Vanderbilt. What the disrespect for losing to Texas, which I know that was a pretty lopsided game. but they fought hard and they came back. But, Vanderbilt looked like a playoff lock. I still think they're a lock if they go 10-2, but they seem to be kind of completely dismissed more for the logo than anything else, if you ask me. I mean, Alabama's elite. Again, that's another team that may win the national championship. That's their only other loss. And I know that one was a little lopsided, but Bama scored at the very end to make it look a little deceiving. So I think Vanderbilt for sure. I think Missouri is another one that I think is being discredited as well. But I didn't have a huge issue with most of the rankings. One other one, Tennessee, Oklahoma. I don't think there was I don't know anybody that watched that game and was like, wow, one team is significantly better than the other. They're very close to each other, yet in the rankings, I think it's 13 spots difference. That doesn't make any sense to me either.
Yeah, and I guess in the case of Vanderbilt and Missouri, you take care of business the rest of the way, you're likely in. Missouri certainly has a tougher road moving forward, have to beat the likes of Texas A&M moving forward here with a true freshman quarterback. But I was talking about this to David Ubben yesterday of The Athletic, Mike. I don't know what it is. I can't shake this feeling that there's a scenario where a 10-2 SEC team like a Vanderbilt could be on the cusp or on the outside looking in if certain things don't break their way as they sit here currently as the number 16 team in that ranking. Everybody at every turn has totally dismissed me on that. Will you do the same?
10-2 not getting in?
Right.
I'll give you one that's probably not on your radar. Ole Miss. Because, again, do I think they would get left out for sure? No. But what is their best win? LSU, who just missed the coach?
Oklahoma.
On the
road, yeah.
Again, but what if Oklahoma loses to Bama and one of Missouri or LSU? I mean, is that a good win? I mean, it's a good win, but if that's your best win, I don't know. They have a horrible schedule. So that's one to consider. But yeah, I'm there with you. It'd be very hard to see a 10-2 being left out. But let's say Texas goes 9-3, and their losses are at number 1 Ohio State. Florida that's a bad loss, but let's say their other losses at Georgia, and they destroy A&M, and A&M's undefeated. I think Texas at 9-3 should get in over Ole Miss at 10-2.
Yeah, I mean, you look at where that second loss could come for Ole Miss. You get Florida at home, and you're at Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. Either way you shake it, Mike, those would be each would be a bad loss if they slipped up in either spot. Obviously lost to Florida last year. You'd be losing against a team led by an interim. And the Egg Bowl's got all sorts of weirdness. I've got this weird feeling about the Egg Bowl this year. I mean, I think it has a chance to be the strangest, weirdest, vibiest Egg Bowl since Elijah Moore peed like a dog and lost them the game.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's also really weird that both those teams have a bye right before. I cannot recall an SEC program having a bye before the final regular season, and they both have it. So that's very unique. And who knows? I mean, if Ole Miss is 10-1, despite what I just said, they may have already locked up a playoff spot, and Mississippi State could be fighting for their bowl lives. I mean, I wonder where the motivation is there. And Lane Kiffin said it last year, right? We don't want to go to Atlanta. We don't want to play in the SEC championship. Maybe they don't want to win the Egg Bowl if they have the playoff locked up and they don't have to go to Atlanta.
Mike Bratton, that SEC podcast with us on 104.5 The Zone. All right, you have been one of Hugh Freeze's biggest detractors over the years. I believe you've been proven right. Hugh Freeze is out. Auburn's buyout money continues to accrue over the years. And now Auburn heads into First Bank Stadium here in Nashville with DJ Durkin leading as the interim. That's a talented Auburn team, Mike. Vanderbilt trying to bounce back from that loss at Texas. Is there trouble brewing in this game for Vanderbilt, who are 6.5-point home favorites?
No, I think there's significant concern in my mind now that we've gotten rid of the clown show that was Hugh Freeze. So, guy couldn't beat Pavia, couldn't beat Vanderbilt. So, exodus him from the program, that certainly I think that gives Auburn a better shot. But I think realistically, even though it will be addition by subtraction. I think they'll play hard for DJ Durkin. I just don't know how much you can really upgrade an offense, especially given how chaotic Sunday must have been and Monday. In a week's time, going on the road, I think it's going to be a tall ask because I think the Auburn defense will really perform. But how many points is the offense realistically going to put up? I would imagine under 17 points. So unless they can win like a 14-10 game, I'm pretty confident Vanderbilt wins this one. But it'd be maybe a different story if there was a bye week in between and Auburn had 2 weeks to prepare for this. I think their offense could have some life. But, yeah, just the fact that Hugh Freeze is no longer associated with Auburn, I mean, I like them a lot more, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, another big game over on West End. There's been so many of those this season for Vanderbilt, games that would qualify as like the biggest game in Vanderbilt history. That kind of keeps getting rewritten in this dream season they're having under Clark Lee. Meanwhile, Auburn looking for that interim coach bump as Florida, I guess, somewhat got in a competitive loss to Georgia. LSU going through the same thing. I'm having all sorts of trouble, Mike, ranking these openings in this era, and Lane Kiffin is kind of hovering there at Ole Miss, and he's going to be brought up for each of them. But where are you right now in trying to stack Auburn, LSU, and Florida in terms of attractiveness given the current landscape?
Well, I think normally you would have LSU easily number one, but thanks to the governor out here who wants incentive-based contracts and all this nonsense for anybody that missed it, he basically called out all the coaching agents, Jimmy Sexton. I mean, he controls who gets hired and where. I mean, it's nice to sit here and say, hey, we're not doing this anymore. We're not giving buyouts. The coach is going to have to earn what he keeps. That sounds fantastic. And that, honestly, that's probably the way it should be. But that's not the world we live in. Because if you try to hand out an incentive-based contract at LSU to, let's say, Lane Kiffin, and Florida offers Lane Kiffin a fully guaranteed contract, where do you think he's going? If LSU's trying to get John Summerall and give him an incentive-based contract, and Auburn gives him a fully guaranteed contract, where do you think he's going? I mean, this is so easy to foresee what's happening. I would almost put LSU dead last right now, given the instability of their new president. I don't know if you've seen this. He's come aboard, and I'm removing the interim tag from the AD. And then they asked him the next day. He says, well, I don't know what the difference is between interim and removing the tag. Like, I mean, the guy seems just as clueless as the governor, who the governor picked the AD. So, and the president. So I think they got way too many cooks in the kitchen down there at LSU. So for that reason, I think the Florida job and even the Auburn job is more attractive right now than LSU.
Man, it's crazy just how that's plummeted in regards to the dysfunction and the fact that we can even talk about the LSU job being a more dysfunctional situation than the Auburn job, Mike, that has had all sorts of infighting in the program that hasn't done anything since pre-COVID. I mean, the way that those roles have reversed is insanity.
Right. Yeah. They probably shouldn't have got rid of Scott Woodward. He was very popular down there. I know he was very popular with Jimbo for the buyout money and now Brian Kelly. But I get it. I get holding that over him, but not very smart, in my opinion.
That's what happens when the governor starts talking, and no chance to get to a BCS game this year, according to Governor Jeff Landry of Louisiana. And then, so you've got these three openings. Obviously, Penn State is hovering up in the Northeast, and maybe that Florida State job opens up later on this year as well. What about Kentucky, Mike? Because I've been operating under this assumption all season that, all right, it feels like this is over. It feels stale. I think Kentucky fans are ready for a reset, as much as Mark Stoops has done for that program. But then they go down and they win on the Plains, and it gets Hugh Freeze fired, and Mark Stoops is hugging and celebrating with his athletic director, Mitch Barnhart. And I don't know. I mean, where are you right now on the idea of another SEC job potentially coming open in Lexington?
Oh, yeah, I think for sure that one will open as well. Now, I think it'll be interesting to see this weekend as they host Florida. You know, that's always a big game for Kentucky. I think Florida and Kentucky, the only shot they have realistically of making a bowl game, each of them have to win on Saturday, and even a win guarantees you nothing. But it keeps those playoff hopes alive. So what kind of crowd are we talking? Are the fans engaged up there in Lexington? If not, you know, win, lose, or draw, I still think we got to move on from Stoops. And even if he wins this game, if he loses to Vanderbilt, it's at Vanderbilt. If he loses to Louisville, one of the better teams in the ACC, they're not going to a bowl game. So I think his time is done, but I think they want to give him enough respect where I don't think they're going to fire him midseason. I think they're hopeful that he can land another job so he can kind of land on his feet and not have that against his resume, so to speak, that he was dismissed as he currently is the winningest coach all time at Kentucky. I don't think they want to fire that guy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Hosting Florida at Kroger Field, 6:30 Saturday. Texas A&M headed to Missouri. Mizzou, 2-loss team. A&M obviously undefeated, highest-ranked team in the SEC right now. How much of a believer are you right now in Mike Elko's football team as a national title contender?
Oh, 100%. And I pegged them as a preseason playoff team. I had 4 teams out of the SEC as a playoff team, and I had A&M in that category. But I think they're even better than I anticipated they would be. So that's saying quite a bit. Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver, I think that's the best 1-2 receiver combo in the Southeastern Conference. Marcel Reed, his game has taken a significant jump this year. So offense looks insane. But despite having said all that, Lucas, I kind of like Missouri in this spot. You know, I know both of them have two weeks to prepare, but Missouri's got to win out to make the playoff, and even that may not guarantee it, but I think Missouri would be in if they won out. But I like this spot for the Tigers. I know it's a true freshman, Matt Zollers at quarterback, but he looked good against Vanderbilt. I think he's the real deal. And I think Missouri's defense is actually better than A&M's, and I think it's probably the most underrated defense in the conference.
Well, and it kind of comes back to the point of how turbulent the SEC has been this year, Mike, where it's so hard to picture a team running the table. We act like that's almost impossible now. Here's A&M, undefeated. The only slip-up spots that appear to be on the table are at Missouri and at home again, on the road at Texas. 2 tough road trips, but that's the scenario I'm talking about. The likes of Missouri shocking everybody, knocking off A&M, and then beating Mississippi State, winning at Oklahoma, and then Arkansas at home. It's not an easy slate to close out the year, even with the freshman quarterback. It would be so hard to imagine Missouri being left out of the picture at that point. And then you're just talking about more teams. And then we're getting maybe to 5, 6 teams in the SEC with the resume that says they should be in.
Put them all in, I say. But no, 100%. I mean, that's why there's so much intrigue this last month of the season. I really do think that, again, I mentioned Ole Miss already, but even Georgia, you know, teams that we kind of like have pegged, we can throw A&M into this mix. You know, teams that today we look at them as playoff locks. I think there's a realistic shot that some of these teams play their way out of the playoff because someone's got to go out if these other teams are emerging. So, yeah, I think we're in for a really, really wild final month of the regular season.
We'll see how many slip-ups happen on Saturday. Mike Bratton and cousin Shane will be there to recap it all. That SEC podcast, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, at Michael W. Bratton on Twitter. Good to see you, man. Appreciate the time.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. SEC Mike with us on 104.5 The Zone. Nashville SC's got a pretty big game Saturday night. Headed down to Inter Miami. It is Game 3, MLS Cup Playoffs Round 1, a decisive matchup. Winner on to the Eastern Conference semifinals. And Josh Bauer, Nashville SC defender and goal scorer in that win over Miami last week, joins us next on 104.5 The Zone.
The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you if you are experiencing performance issues, because that happens to a lot of guys. As you get up there in age, as your body starts to change, you may notice some differences, and those things don't have to be inevitable. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has been helping guys with performance issues for over a decade. Thousands of men have got back to feeling like themselves. These aren't cookie-cutter treatments. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is urology-based and staffed with multiple licensed providers who specialize in men's sexual health. They use proven treatments tailored to your specific situation. No one size fits all. Whether you're dealing with mild or moderate ED, performance issues, or even conditions like Peyronie's disease, their medical team will work with you to create a plan that gets results, often with options most men didn't even know were out there. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes a full medical consultation, blood work, and if medically advised, a test dose right there in the office. So call them today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or book easily online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. You want to make sure that your money is right. You want to make sure that you're financially independent. And that is something that Trajan Wealth can help you with, because the holiday season is already upon us. It's not too late to check this year's financial resolution off your list. Give Trajan Wealth a call today to start achieving your financial goals, and they will put you in position to succeed. If you are wondering, do I have enough to retire or am I missing something? Meet with Trajan Wealth and at least get a second opinion, because they will give you answers and a real plan. They're not just advisors, they're fiduciaries, and they will treat you like family. You will become a client because they will earn your trust and take the stress off your shoulders. Call Trajan Wealth and get your plan started today. 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000, or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement.
There is one team carrying the torch for Nashville professional sports. It is Nashville Soccer Club. moving on to Game 3, surviving and advancing with a 2-1 win over Inter Miami last Saturday at Geodis Park. And it is winner go home at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale this Saturday night as Nashville has the rematch with Miami for a spot in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And the man of the hour, the man who ultimately provided the game winner with a 45th-minute goal off a corner kick, Josh Bauer, Nashville SC defender, joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Josh, appreciate you being here, man. Are we getting you right off the training ground?
Yes, fresh off the training ground. Thank you for having me. Absolutely.
And how's the week of preparation been after what was obviously an emotional night to keep your season alive last Saturday?
Yeah, it's been a good week. Spirits are high. We got confidence, and we got recovered, and we've been gearing up as we're getting closer to match day. So feeling good.
Take me back to Saturday night for a moment before we talk about this weekend. Up there in the radio booth, calling the game, electric atmosphere, cold, rainy night in Nashville. The crowd showed up, and you guys just digging out a result, Josh. First, do you mind taking me through the goal, the corner kick, kind of the way that panned out for you, what you guys brought off the training ground to that moment? Take me through that spot there to go up 2-0 before halftime.
Yeah, set pieces are great opportunities for us. That's something we pay a lot of attention to because we fancy ourselves when we get those moments in the game. It was something we worked on leading up into the week. Honey had a great delivery. Sorry about that. And then some guys got in front of their mans and were able to get a touch on it. And then I ended up getting the better of my man. Ball kind of fell to me in the middle of the goal, right inside the 6. And I hope I wouldn't miss from there. So I was fortunate enough to locate it after that first bounce and find a way to get it over the line. So yeah, great feeling, but that's a lot of hard work that we put in throughout the week in preparation on set pieces.
And then to finish that game out in the second half and just have to grind out that result is what it felt like, Josh. You guys at this point have seen Miami. It's an unusual circumstance, right? This will be the 4th straight game facing them on the last day of the regular season. Game 1, Game 2, and now a decisive Game 3. Last Saturday, having not been able to get the better of Miami this season, where did you guys have to ride that line of the tactical approach versus the mental approach that was required to get a win?
Yeah, I think, at that point, I think it was maybe 60-40 or 70-30 in terms of mentality versus tactics, with the edge being on mentality. And that's, something we tried to carry into the game and stress the importance of is we got to be mentally stronger. We got to match them physically and just have that intensity be our foundation that we go from. And I think it showed. And yeah, the fans, like you mentioned in the beginning, the fans were incredible. So that gave us an extra edge, and I think we were able to take advantage of them.
Josh Bauer, Nashville SC defender, goal scorer from Saturday night's win over Miami with us on 104.5 The Zone. 3rd season now that you've been a part of this club. So you have been here for the pre-Messi version of Miami and the success that this club has had in that time versus the post-Messi era of Inter Miami. And obviously being able to get over the hump for the first time against Miami in this era last Saturday. How much of a boost is that just from a confidence perspective that allows you guys to kind of carry that mentality, that intensity that you took into Saturday into Game 3 with kind of that wind behind your sails of having the proof of concept?
Yeah, it's a great confidence booster. It's definitely something that we had paid attention to, and we knew that we hadn't beat them while Messi has been there. And that I think that just gave us more fuel, and to show that we could do it. It's going to give us more confidence because we talk about firsts a lot. This year we have a wall of firsts within the group, and to be able to put that one up there was a good feeling. Just the recency behind it, and knowing that we get another opportunity to go out there and hopefully do it again.
He ended up kind of getting his in the end. You guys are able to see out the result anyway, a 90th minute goal from Lionel Messi. But one thing that was very noticeable, Josh, from decision day at the end of the regular season and the first 2 games in this playoff series was the drop-off in touches that you guys were allowing for Lionel Messi on the ball. I mean, well over 60 on decision day, didn't get above 50 in each of the first 2 games of this series. What's behind that? How are you guys able to mitigate, cut off those supply lines as much as one can against a player of his caliber?
Yeah, he's someone we obviously have to focus a lot on. He's kind of the engine of the team, and he likes to get on the ball and create for them, and can kind of do what he wants when he is on the ball. So the more we can keep the ball away from him, the better it is for us. One thing we talked about was just keeping them out of central areas of the field, because they're very good when they can face you up and go through the middle. So we try and limit that as much as we can and force things wide. But I think, just kind of having a spy on him wherever he is on the field and whatever phase it is, because that's one thing they're very good at, is playing in between the phases of play and relying on transition moments. So if we can have one or two guys just kind of talking and focused on where he is, even when we have the ball, I think it helps us organize and helps us get in the right positions to then prevent him getting on the ball when it does turn over.
There you go. Josh Bauer, Nashville SC, trying to do it again and move on Saturday night at Chase Stadium. Josh, appreciate the time. Good luck this weekend.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. This weekend, Saturday night, 7 p.m. You can hear it right here on 104.5 The Zone. 6:30 pregame, 7 p.m. kickoff. Will Bowling and Eddie Carvacho will have the call as Nashville looks to move forward in this postseason and do, something that would pretty much shock the rest of the MLS world if Nashville's able to do it. And that proof of concept, that confidence that they can get from last Saturday at Geodis Park could be huge. And there was big news in regards to this matchup, Robert, as Inter Miami star forward Luis Suarez, one of the many aging veteran legends on this Miami roster surrounding Lionel Messi, longtime Barcelona forward, highest scoring player in the Uruguayan national team's history, was fined and suspended for this game.
Good.
Because of a moment of violent conduct in the 71st minute where he's running by Nashville SC right back Andy Nahar and kicked his leg up and clipped Nahar's thigh a little bit. And he's going to be suspended for this game. 17 goals in all competitions. He didn't bite anybody, but he did kick back the heel, and he's going to be missing this game. Could be pivotal.
No room in the sport for that. There's no room in it. Can't say. He should be suspended longer and fined more. What's his name again?
Luis Suarez.
Luis Suarez, you are scum. You are scum, and you're going to cost your team with your hooligan attitude and your off-the-field antics. No more.
But he didn't. But not biting is growth, is it not?
No.
No?
No, if you're what's on your feet? What are on the bottom of their feet, of their footies?
Oh, those would be their boots, their cleats.
I know,
their
but
studs.
what's underneath that? The spikes, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like Shoe's teeth, isn't it? Sounds like he's up to his same old tricks. Sounds like he's still finding a way to sink his teeth into the competition. Maybe you should try out for Nathan's hot dog eating contest, buddy. If you want to take a bite out of something, take a bite out of crime in Miami before you turn around and try to bite somebody on Nashville SC. I'm on your ass, buddy. You better quit it. You better stop it.
I don't know this to be true, but I have to assume Luis Suarez has had more biting incidents in his career than any other professional athlete in the history of professional sports.
Can't stand it. Cannot stand it.
A lot of people can't stand that guy.
It is, I'm seething. I am seething.
World-class player in his prime, but yes.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not Saturday.
Not a world-class attitude. That's the problem.
Oh, man. Thanks for Josh for coming on. He gets called up last minute. Dan Lovitz, questionable with an ankle. Josh Bauer gets the call up to start, scores a goal, excellent defensive performance, and Nashville lives to fight another week, and they'll look to do it again this weekend.
He's never bit anybody.
No. No, he has not.
He will take a bite out of victory this weekend.
See what happens. 7 p.m. kickoff. Nashville SC at Inter Miami. The boys in goal. It's been a historic year. Still trying to carry the torch for Music City professional sports. When we come back, let's do a little bye-week vibe check on Titans rookie quarterback Cam Ward. We'll hear from Titans GM Mike Borgonzi and evaluate what else we've seen from this rookie class. Hour 3 is next.
One of the largest sports books east of the Mississippi, Circa Sports Kentucky, is now open. Catch all your favorite games on an 80-foot screen with stadium-style seating and live VSiN broadcast daily. Circa Sports, now open at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, and Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
Hey dads, want an epic night with your kids? Head to Nissan Stadium for the Nashville All-Pro Dad Experience. On November 7th from 6 to 8:30 p.m., you'll make memories with your family as you run on the field and enjoy bonding activities. Expect fun, laughs, and fatherhood tips from Tennessee Titans long snapper Morgan Cox to help you be a better dad. All for less than a trip through the drive-thru. Just $35 gets you an unforgettable time with your kids. Register today at allprodad.com/events. The Nashville All-Pro Dad Experience is brought to you by Amazon, Arby's Foundation, Coca-Cola Consolidated, Colgate Bright Smiles Bright Futures, and Pinnacle Financial Partners.
My dad and I used to golf together all the time, but when he hurt his back, it was over.
To have your son want to spend time with you is amazing. That's why my chronic back pain has been so heartbreaking. Surgery, fused bones, long recovery. No way, not for me. A friend recommended stem cells, so I gave Kellum Stem Cell Institute a call.
I'm glad you're out on the course.
Yeah, it's really good.
Call the Kellum Stem Cell Institute today. Swing still looks just okay, though.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Noon 03, good afternoon from the Circus Sports Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans General Manager Mike Borgonzi spoke to the media on a number of topics yesterday and wanted to make a point to highlight Jeffrey Simmons and his importance to the direction the Titans are heading.
I want to highlight Jeff Simmons. Jeff has been tremendous. Jeff was a player that came in this league and they were winning, and he's gone through some losing seasons here right now. And I communicate with Jeff a lot, and Jeff is a big part of why we're going to turn this thing around here. He is. He's one of the better players in the league, and his leadership with these young guys has been tremendous.
Two notable quarterback injury updates as Arizona quarterback Kyler Murray will be placed on injured reserve, missing the next 4 games as he continues to recover from his foot injury. Jacoby Brissett will continue to start in his absence. Houston Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud will also miss his matchup with the Jags this week as he is still in concussion protocol. Davis Mills will be the next man up for the Texans. Thursday Night Football tonight, Raiders head to Denver to take on the Broncos, who will be without Defensive Player of the Year Patrick Surtain, and the secondary kickoff is at 7:15 from Mile High Stadium. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Buck's gone. We're happy about it, and we have much to discuss. Final hour of the show. Lucas Panzica and Robert Walsh with you. Nate Washington set to join us coming up at 12:20. But we are about 48 hours removed, a little less, from the NFL trade deadline on Tuesday afternoon. And the Titans, as you know, only made one move this week. And that was to ship outside linebacker Draymond Jones to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for a 2026 conditional 5th-round pick. 2 more sacks from Jones and Ravens qualifying for the playoffs would turn it into a 4th. If not, Titans will get a high-end 5th out of it. And Draymond Jones had a parting message for Titans fans on the way out on Twitter as he heads to Baltimore and they try to push back into contention. He said, quoting the Adam Schefter tweet with the news that he has been dealt to Baltimore, Draymond Jones on Twitter, @theofficial_80. The NFL is too crazy, LOL. Thank you, Titans family. I loved and appreciated my short time in Nashville too much. Cam is the truth, too. Y'all give him time. He can be great.
And potentially Titans fans may think like, oh, well, what if they just scrooge us out of the deal like the DeAndre Hopkins deal, where it was a certain threshold of snaps he had to reach to make the pick upgrade in condition, which they didn't. The Chiefs managed his snaps. You may be thinking, oh, well, the Ravens are just going to manage his snaps. He probably won't even play this week. John Harbaugh said he will play this week, so he can start chipping away at that 2-sack total that will help it the pick increase from a 5th to a 4th. And hopefully get a win over the Vikings, which would put them closer to making the playoffs.
So you're going to lean all the way into this, aren't you?
What do you mean?
Just this thing about the Titans kind of having to root for the Ravens.
Oh, buddy, I would never do that. I would never make the implications of this trade my whole characteristic and body type. You know, it's not that I need the Ravens to go to the playoffs. You guys need the Ravens to go to the playoffs.
You would never single out the Titans GM saying, let's hope the Ravens make the playoffs.
No, I definitely wouldn't save it.
So, but to your point, it's not a luxury that the Ravens have the way the Chiefs had with DeAndre Hopkins a year ago to limit his snaps. Draymond Jones is going to come in and help immediately.
Yeah, because they traded probably their most efficient pass rusher in Odafe Awe, who up to that point did not have a sack on the season. Now, after joining the Chargers, has 3 sacks in 3 weeks. So good for him.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We are also on 1045 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch from the Circa Sports Studios right off Music Row. So, parting message from Draymond Jones and a little note at the end. Cam is the truth. Y'all give him time. He can be great. It's the bye week. Titans are 1-8, week 10 of the NFL regular season. So let's pause, take a step back, and kind of gauge where Cam Ward is 9 games in relative to where we expected him to be. Now, it should be stated that the Titans, despite expectations even being low for this team, are even below those expectations. Brian Callahan was fired before the bye week. He was even fired before the Patriots game. So with that comes everything else, right? Naturally, Cam Ward, I think, has played below what the expectation was for him, because the expectation was that this football team could contend to win 5 or 6 games and be led by a spark that is a rookie quarterback. That hasn't necessarily been the case. There are still games to go, but they're still held back by injuries at the moment. They're trading away assets and all of these things. Cam Ward, 9 games in, has completed 57.6% of his passes for 1,760 yards, 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Obviously, he has lost 5 fumbles. That was something that plagued him in the first 2 months of the season. He has gotten better in that regard over the last couple of weeks. He has a QBR on the year of 23.9, a rating of 72.1. And if we're going to describe Cam Ward's rookie season with one word, Robert, I'd say sporadic, right? The good has been good in terms of what shows up on tape, but it has not translated to wins, obviously. It has not affected the scoreboard. I also think there's too much on this team for Cam Ward to overcome for those things to tangibly affect the scoreboard. But it's been such an interesting dynamic this season for Cam Ward to have performances and do things that you just say can't happen, that, okay, you can accept with the rookie quarterback. And then there's also these moments where the Dan Orlovskis of the world are saying, this dude is going to be an elite quarterback in the NFL. My God, the tape is just jumping off the screen in a game where the Titans scored 12 points, right? And it can be understandably hard for Titans fans to wrap their head around that. So sporadic is my word. Is it fair to say below expectation is where Cam Ward is at 9 games in, as unfair as that expectation might have been going into the season, which maybe we're finding that out now.
Yeah, but below expectations is 3 words. You would only get to use 1 word.
Oh, well, it would be 2 words.
See, I would use inconsistent, but I think inconsistent is also not fair to him, because that labels him as someone who, I would say, the word I would use would be insurmountable. The circumstances, the situation, the roster, all of it was always going to be insurmountable for a rookie quarterback. That way, it kind of paints it where, like, he is still going, he's still progressing, but he was never going to be the guy that would. And for what it's worth, I don't know who could elevate this roster. If you put Patrick Mahomes on this roster, could he go to the playoffs? I don't know. So, I mean, when you think about it like that, I think it's very fair to Cam to say my word would be insurmountable.
I don't know that anything has accelerated faster over the years in the NFL than the way we judge rookie quarterbacks, right? I mean, we've gotten some great rookie seasons out of certain players, and it's turned into this race. The starting gun is fired when this kid is drafted, and it's this race in the first 4 years, maybe 5 years of his rookie contract to see what you have and have some sort of decision in your mind that this is the person to lead you forward to maximize that rookie contract as much as possible. And performances from certain players have rewritten those expectations. I think C.J. Stroud did a lot to reset those barometers for what we expect from rookie quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels did too, to the point where a year ago, Caleb Williams is a great example. I feel like people were underwhelmed by Caleb Williams in his rookie year with Chicago, Robert. And I was looking around like, dude threw for 3,500 yards and 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. What are we even talking about in his rookie season in what has been a largely dysfunctional organization? And Caleb, here we are, past the midway point of year 2, has been up and down. But the expectation level for a rookie quarterback has been so out of whack that I want to be tame in how we talk about Cam Ward, especially given his circumstances, which, to be honest, have gotten worse and worse as the injuries have piled up and more parts and pieces get sold off, and he doesn't have support from his defense, and he's surrounded by – the offense is being driven by Cam Ward and rookie 4th rounders, 3 rookie 4th rounders. So all of that context is important, but let's hear from GM Mike Borgonzi on what he had to say about Cam Ward's progress throughout the course of his rookie season yesterday in his press conference.
He looks like a rookie quarterback playing on, a team that had the number 1 pick last year, and he is he's developing, and he's developing with a lot of other rookies too as well, right? So we have 2 rookie wide receivers out there playing, Jim and Alec. We have Gunnar playing out there. So they are learning together, and they're only going to be better because of it. And I have full confidence that Cam, because of his work ethic, because of his drive, that he will fix things that he needs to fix, just like every quarterback in this league, though. And I have full confidence that he's going to get there.
That is GM Mike Borgonzi in his post-trade deadline press conference yesterday. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. So, sporadic, inconsistent, all fair things, all reasonable things to expect from a quarterback in his rookie season in this situation. Best performance for you from Cam Ward this season? To me, it's down to two. It's the Colts game 2 weeks ago, second game of the Mike McCoy interim stint, where I thought they had their best first half in terms of the offensive operation, but obviously they can't sustain for 4 quarters, and the Colts run away with it in the second half. Or would it be the Arizona game, where there are early struggles, and the offense has a hard time moving the football, but they kind of get that wind in their sails from the Cardinals' mistakes and take advantage with a fourth quarter surge with their only win of the season? What performance did you like the most this season from Cam Ward?
Is it bad if I say neither and I go with the Patriots game?
Okay.
Like, I feel like that was the most complete game. Like, and it's tough for me, like, not like you put me on the spot, but just like recalling each of these games. I felt like I had to pull the stats back up for what it's worth. That was his highest completion percentage game, which was kind of added to by the fact at the end of the game, they're dumping it off to Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard has like 3 catches, which is going to help his completion percentage. But I did feel like that was his best game seeing. But I think it's also a good thing of note that despite us talking about a quarterback who, and the general manager is saying he looks like a rookie quarterback playing on a team that just had the number 1 overall pick, he actually has games to choose from. That what is his best performance? So it's tough for me, but I would say his most recent. If you just continue to say his most recent, I think that's a strong indictment or a strong indication that he is getting better as he continues to grow.
Yeah, I think he has gotten better on aggregate. I think there was kind of a stretch where you saw that improvement week to week early. Then there was a step back for a stretch, and then you're kind of seeing another incline. It was never going to be linear this season, and there is this demand, this need to want to make a definitive statement every week of the season and even after his rookie season. And maybe it's just not the best way to do this on sports radio for me to say, I don't think, no matter what happens from now until that first weekend of January when the regular season ends and the Titan season's over, I don't think there's any way for us to have anything definitive on Cam Ward during that stretch. I think it's impossible. We can have information, we can have touch points along the way that can inform where he's at in his development, but to act like we're going to know definitively what Cam Ward is as this team's franchise quarterback at the end of this season, I'm just not even going to pretend like we're going to be able to have that conversation. Now, the Titans are going to have a high draft pick and could very well have the number 1 overall pick again, and I think are going to remain steadfast in their commitment to Cam Ward, regardless of who is brought in as the head coach. This is not, to me, nothing about this feels like an Arizona Josh Rosen situation where he's drafted a high draft pick. What was he, top 10? And then comes in, plays his rookie year. Cliff Kingsbury gets hired, says, no, I want my guy. They've got the number 1 pick, and they draft Kyler Murray. Very hard for me to imagine a scenario like that playing out here in Tennessee. It was never going to be linear, and maybe it's been below what people expected, but everything's been below what people expected coming into this season. So it's unreasonable to think that the rookie quarterback would be the one thing shining above all of that when so much of that is directly tied to his success. He's weighed them down at times, and other components of this roster have weighed him down at times, and it's led to 1-8. So here we are. Wonder what Nate Washington thinks as we take a step back during the Titans bye week. We'll talk to the Titans' former receiver and legend next on 104.5 The Zone. Thanksgiving, it's getting close. I know it might be hard to believe. You're looking up. It's already the first week of November that's almost ending, and you have no plans in place. Well, Hattie B's has you taken care of because Thanksgiving is getting hot with Hattie B's. That's right. They can cater your Thanksgiving, spicy it up for any size gathering. I'm not talking about jumbo wings for Thanksgiving. Now, if that floats your boat, go all in. But Hattie B's is doing whole fried turkey, sliced turkey breast, cheesy hot chicken dip, whipped potatoes, cranberry sauce, Bishop's carrot souffle, desserts, traditional sides, upgraded additions. You can create your own custom meal without any of the hassle. You get the traditional stuff for a Thanksgiving meal, but even better, you don't have to burn down your kitchen. You don't have to spend hours away from family. Here's the thing. You got to get in on it while supplies last, because they will run out. Folks are catching on to Thanksgiving getting hot with Hattie B. So head to HattieB.com or download the Hattie B's app today and make Thanksgiving hot. Trade deadline in the rear view, bye week coming up this weekend, and we move forward in the 2025 season, Cam Ward's rookie season, and in Nate Washington's debut season as a weekly guest on this show. Welcome back. Lucas Panzica and Robert Walsh with you until 1 o'clock, joined by Titans legend Nate Washington at NWash85 on Twitter. And for the first time, nice to have you on without Buck bogging things down. Nate, how we doing?
Yeah. Hey, man, it's about time we let you lead the show, Lucas, man. You know, all that chitter-chatter from the other guy, we don't need right now. So I'm glad you leading the way today, Lucas.
He loves his high horse, that he doesn't take vacations. He's too much of a hard worker for a vacation, Nate. And then a hypocrite as usual, Buck Rising. So maybe he'll come back next week. We'll see. Nate Washington, Football Was My Father, on sale now on Amazon. Robert throwing the link into the F&M Bank chat on YouTube. Saw you on with Keith Bullock on his podcast earlier this week. What was that conversation like?
Oh, man, it was awesome. I actually think me and him are kind of cooking up a weekly thing as well on the side. So I think fans can kind of can look out for that, hopefully, if everything comes together. But, you know, it was a great conversation. You know, me and Bull actually have a different kind of rapport. We actually stayed like 5 minutes from each other when I was actually living in Nashville. And our families were constantly together. Our daughters were doing a lot of things together and acting a lot of time. And our rapport was just great, you know, transitioning into retirement in 2016 when I was still there, living there. He was a main guy that helped me go through that, you know, immediate transition, giving me other hobbies like bike riding and all of those type of things, man. So we've had some great conversations, man to man, player to player, ex-player to player, you know, and we have a great understanding of each other. So the conversation in itself, I hope everybody enjoys, and hopefully it's something we can look forward to in the future.
Okay, very much looking forward to that. Keith Bullock already with the Bullseye View podcast on YouTube, and keep an eye out for what he's got going on with Nate Washington. So, Nate, how locked in were you on the trade deadline the other day as the Titans ultimately moved Draymond Jones to Baltimore, a conditional fifth, and no other moves get made, and Mike Borgonzi met with the media yesterday?
I was more so focusing on what we were going to let go and not what we were going to pick up. I kind of figured that this wouldn't be an offseason where they would make too many acquisitions of additions coming into this team. But I knew there were quite a bit of guys unexpectedly that may have been on the trading radar that we may not have known of. And I, in all honesty, was concerned about a couple, you know, with Tre'Davious Sweat being one of those guys, you know, I was concerned. But we come out of this thing with, you know, as much damage as we had. You know, I think Borgonzi did an excellent job yesterday of explaining their intent behind their moves and giving clarification to the fans on what exactly made them make these decisions. And that was needed. You know, I think that a clear, decisive understanding of the direction of this team hasn't been presented to us, the media, nor the fans, in a lot of ways. There's been a lot of unknowns and a lot of questions about one of the hell, but at the same time, you know, I think a lot of those questions were answered yesterday. I think there was a star shining moment for Borgonzi to go out there and, you know, answer some of the tough questions with clear, decisive answers, and none of the tiptoeing around trying to give us a gap to even fill in any of that void with any of our thoughts. You know, I think a lot of his answers were decisive and direct to the point where it gives understanding to why they moved the way that they moved with this trade deadline.
Agreed. I thought it was the best press conference the Titans have put out there in quite some time, Nate. We've talked about that a lot. And there were two big bullet points. Borgonzi covered a lot yesterday, but two big things I'd love to get your thoughts on, starting with Jeffrey Simmons and the lack of a trade as Titans fans watched Quinnen Williams get moved and the Jets getting a king's ransom for he and Sauce Gardner and their rebuild. And I don't know, Nate, if there was FOMO or what from Titans fans that left feeling a little bit unsatisfied from trade deadline day. I think a lot of those fans also said under no circumstance can you trade Jeffrey Simmons. So, you know, hard to achieve both for the Titans. But I do want to play Mike Borgonzi and what he had to say about Jeffrey Simmons and why it was so important for the Titans to keep him in Nashville with the trade deadline this week.
Did you talk to Dallas about Jeff, considering what Dallas gave up for Williams?
I'm not going to get into who we talked. We talked to 31 other teams for the past 3 weeks. So I will not get into any particulars of any moves that we did not make. But I will say with Jeff, just because you asked about Jeff, and I'm not going to talk about any other players here, Jeff is invaluable to us right now, to where we want to go.
When you say building for the future, though, as you did with Draymond, does that not enter into the picture with Jeff as well as you probably your most valuable asset, that could be traded?
Well, you have to weigh those options, and you say it's a business, but like when you weigh those options, you look at it and you say, what do we have here? And he's a pillar here in this organization for what you want, and he's one of the best players in the league in his position. And the way he works every day at practice, I don't know if I've seen a defensive lineman superstar like him, just empty the tank every day at practice. It's impressive. And when your best player does that and younger guys look to him, that's what you want. That's what I'm talking about being a standard.
Nate Washington, former Titans receiver, with us on 104.5 The Zone. That was GM Mike Borgonzi speaking about why Jeffrey Simmons wasn't even on the table at the trade deadline. Nate, what is that value in keeping Jeffrey Simmons here as the Titans try to rebuild everything from a cultural standpoint, a personnel standpoint, but keep him here, even understanding he would have been by far their most sellable asset?
Well, yeah, I think, in a lot of ways, we live in a microwave society, right? Everybody wants results instantly. You want your food hot right now, but there's consequences that comes with that. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same way in this specific situation. When you talk about building a culture and an identity for an organization that hasn't had one for a long time, as well as the front office is accountable for those things, it is important that you put the proper players in the locker room, as he stated, pillar-type players in the locker room that can set the foundation for the next guys to come in and understand how things are going to be done around there. And I know, a lot of fans may have seen trade value in Jeff as a player, but as a person, that is the type of person you want to be the foundation of your culture. And as an organization, as he stated, it's invaluable. You cannot let that leave your building by any means. Jeffrey Simmons is on and off the field, the ideal cultural guy that you want to be the face of your program. And that is what he's been. He's been an all-pro, Pro Bowl type caliber player. And has been heavy in the community. His face is well known with the community and his work in the community. And that's what you expect from a guy that's going to lead your culture. And those type of things are invaluable, no matter what you can get from him. If you get 4 or 5 first-round picks, you can let them go. And, of course, you might get some great talent behind that. But what type of attitude, what type of characteristics, what type of personalities are you going to get with those next guys coming in? And that's the things that you can't trade away. He is obviously the future of this organization, the way he works, the way he presents himself, the way he is leading in his community, not only in Nashville, but in his hometown as well. I'm constantly seeing community work from him and being a stand-up individual. And while I don't know him individually, I can attest to this type of presentation. The perception obviously is there that he is a leader, and those type of guys are going to set the foundation for the future of your organization. And they're, like as he stated, they're invaluable. You can't allow those type of guys to leave.
Nate Washington with us. Someone you do know individually would be Jarrell Casey, Nate, former teammate. You guys overlapped about 4 years. I can't help but bring that comparison up when it comes to Jarrell here, for obviously some of those being some very lean years, and how instrumental he was when Mike Vrabel came in and trying to build out that culture at the tail end of Jarrell Casey's career when he wasn't exactly at the peak of his powers, but was still a very influential person in that locker room that had been here through the hard times and got to help the Titans into that stretch where they had 6 straight winning seasons and made an AFC championship game. Do you see any similarities there in what Jarrell Casey was for this team around that 2018, 2019 stretch and what Jeffrey Simmons could be maybe 2 or 3 years down the road?
So quick behind the scenes story about Jarrell Casey. And I believe that this is, probably very similar with Jeffrey Simmons' presence in that building. But quick story about Jarrell, man. Me and him were very close buddies as we were playing together for the Titans. And in my 6th year, I kind of knew that it would be my last year. I wasn't getting the feeling from the organization that they would be having me back. And it was understood. There was no hard feelings, but I still wanted to do my job as a captain of that team at the time to do everything that I was supposed to. I showed up, I worked hard, I never complained. I did what I was supposed to. But I remember there was a time during the season of that 6th year where we weren't winning, things weren't really going well, and the coach, we had a practice like on a Wednesday, and the coach told us, we were going out in shorts, jerseys, and helmets that day, where typically we were being pads. Much needed day for us to get our fits and assignments going on, technique understood, and those type of things with the pads on. And so, we were a couple of the older guys, we were kind of ecstatic about it, not having to be in the pads for the day, not having to hit. A couple of the younger guys obviously elated with being able to kind of peel back the day and take a little rest day while getting the mental work. And I remember Jarrell Casey specifically went in the coach's office and was like, "Nah, we wearing our pads today." And I was like, at the time, I remember personally, I'm like, man, I'm getting older. Like, I could take this rest day. You know what I mean? I know how to go out here and work, but I didn't fight him on it, because I understood that the grand scheme of it was team. And as a team, we needed that work. We needed that ability to go out on that Wednesday and get that padded practice in. And if it wasn't for Jarrell that day, we wouldn't have got that padded practice in. So that's about what you get from a cultural foundational piece like a Jarrell Casey, Jeffrey Simmons, that's going to do behind the scenes, that's going to put himself aside and going to do what's necessary for the team at the time to make sure that they're progressing. Those type of things aren't reported on because, a lot of times reporters don't even get a win to those type of things. But that is the invaluable presence that you get from those type of guys in the locker room that you just can't let go.
And that makes sense, right? Like, that logic is very sound, Nate, as much as you could have gotten back for Jeffrey Simmons. On the flip side of that, something that I think is a little bit tougher for Titans fans to come to grips with is the Jarvis Brownlee situation. And Mike Borgonzi, to his credit yesterday, very transparent, willing to answer any question about Jarvis without, taking us inside the locker room and the nitty-gritty details, but essentially saying that his habits weren't conducive for them in terms of the culture they're trying to build here. Did that shine any more light on that situation for you, or enough to come away thinking, okay, maybe there is some reasoning there that makes sense to move Jarvis Brownlee, who I think most people thought to be one of those foundational pieces, tone-setting players, young players moving forward? The Titans obviously did not agree.
Speaking from a fan aspect, as a fan, the only thing you can see is the game on Sundays, right? You can go to training camp, you can watch practice, you can watch the guys engage on the sideline in practice during that time. But truth be told, the only time you see any interaction from these guys, these players, is when you watch the game on Sunday. Even if you go there and you watch their interaction on the sideline, this is the only time that you see those players engage, right? And I think the most important thing that Borgonzi did yesterday was allow the fans to understand that this wasn't a talent nor scheme situation. This was a cultural situation. And with that being said, sometimes you get guys that are very talented and bring a lot to the table in those games that you see on Sundays, but there's small details behind the scenes that are going on that, aren't conducive to a productive environment, whether it's punctuality, being late, whether it's, outspokenness in meetings at times that it's not needed, whether it's, weight room etiquette, whether it's presence in the weight training room, it can be a number of different things. And while we could speculate actually what it was that he felt or the front office felt that didn't fit culturally, that these are the type of things that go on behind the scenes that a lot of fans can't see. So obviously, talent-wise, as fans, we want them there. We want that type of talent there. But for me personally, it gave a clear understanding for me personally, being in the locker room before that, there were some things going on behind the scenes that the Titans organization just couldn't allow anymore. They felt it necessary to move on and get the best opportunity for him elsewhere, while also doing whatever they could and making whatever they could back off the trade that they would receive for him.
Former Titans receiver Nate Washington with us on 104.5 The Zone. So 9 games and we're at the bye week, Nate, and we on the fan side, certainly on the media side, when it comes to Cam Ward and his rookie season, get so caught up in establishing that level of expectation and wanting it to be linear. And naturally, throughout the course of his rookie year, the conversation becomes, is he above where you thought he would be? Is he below? Is he right out where you thought he would be? Where are you right now as we take a step back and kind of evaluate the progress for Cam Ward through 9 games, understanding the season has not been even where some of the lower end expectations thought it would be at this point?
Well, speaking for myself personally, I think this is actually right where I expected him to be. When you talk about rookie quarterbacks coming in that are starting right away, right? The quarterback position touches the ball every play, so you can't hide this guy. There's going to be a lot of growing pains there. And I spoke on this earlier with you guys in the beginning of the season, like week 1 or 2, that there was going to be a lot of growing pains, right? But you wanted to see a guy that was capable, that had the talent, that had the understanding of the level that he was playing on, and the necessary situation that he was being in to be a leader for this team, right? But you look at 2 different situations, and I will take you here right quick. You take a Cam Ward situation as coming in as a first pick overall, coming into a team, that is in need for a lot of foundational pieces in a lot of different areas. You need, a lot of different help. In that area, you're going to get, especially when you have a guy that's competitive as he is, you're going to get a guy that's come in and play hero mode a lot of times, which is going to mess up the fundamentals of his game. Understandably, he's going to have to grow through that. He's going to have to understand that he's not going to always be able to make the big play, and he's going to have to be able to take what's given to him. As of where the expectation might be, for instance, as another situation that I was in, a young Ben Roethlisberger, first-round draft pick, came into a veteran Steelers team that was very solid in every area. All they needed was a quarterback to come in and manage the game and do his part, and ended up going 13-3 in his rookie season. So there's 2 different situations, and I think Titans fans have to understand that this is not just a Cam situation. This is a Cam and Titans situation. And once he settles into understanding that his leadership is going to be more so about his personal progression and his fundamentals, then he'll understand that those plays will come to help him, allow him help the Titans win games. And until then, it's going to be a lot of growing pains, because obviously right now I see a guy that just wants to win. He wants to win for this fan base. He wants to win for his teammates. He wants to win for, whatever motivation he has personally. And a lot of times, when you get a young guy like that coming into that position, you're going to have a lot of fundamental mistakes, bad footwork, bad reads, bad body posture, those type of things. And I think, I've seen a guy that's continuing to work through those problems and continuing to progress. For me personally, I hate to say this, Titans fans, but I've kind of got out of the I want to win mode. I want to see progression. When I turn on the film, I want to see things are getting better with this team. The mistakes are starting to disappear, and they're growing as a team to find some continuity.
Well said, Nate Washington. Football Was My Father on sale now. Robert has put the link in the F&M Bank chat on YouTube, or you can watch on 104.5 The Zone TV. Nate, appreciate the time, man. Something about this segment just went, I don't know, smoother than usual. I don't know what's different or what was missing that was here before. Yeah, I would agree.
Great, Lucas. You were awesome. I think we may be able to do this by ourselves for the rest of the season. We don't need the other guy.
We'll lock the door next week, man. Appreciate the time. See you next Thursday.
All right, thanks, man. See you next week.
Nate Washington, look out for what's to come, man. At NWash85 on Twitter. Football Was My Father on sale now on Amazon. Great stuff. See him holding it up there on the F&M Bank chat. Last call for phone call, 615-737-1045. We will preview Thursday Night Football, wrap up the show when we come back. Great stuff from Nate Washington. Great perspective, especially on the Jeffrey Simmons front and the Titans feeling it necessary to keep him here. If you missed it, you can go back and listen on the Buck Rising Show podcast. Like and subscribe while you're there. And it'll be up on YouTube as well, 104.5 The Zone. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube page. Always great content popping up from all 4 shows. Last call for phone call, 615-737-1045. Lucas Panzica and Robert Walsh. Closing things out, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Before we go to the phones and wrap up with polls, quickly, if I could I hear from Stephen A. Smith? I'd love to wish my father, Lorenzo Panzica, a big happy 59th birthday on this Thursday.
And happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
Going home this weekend, Robert. You know what? Our birthday what do you think my dad's birthday activity is going to be with me this weekend?
I hope it's making those little raviolis you guys make.
Close.
Pizza?
Lasagna on Saturday. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A whole afternoon. And then pizza on Sunday, though. So
he's very proud of that pizza oven he built.
It is his pride. Oh, he didn't even think he built that. It is his pride and joy. But yes, he did have it ordered and somebody put it in for him. But yes, it is his pride and joy. Got to get you down there sometime.
Dude, I would absolutely love that. I would love a trading places where maybe I go visit your father for the holidays and then you go visit my father.
We'll document the whole thing.
You have to go deer hunting and
shoot a pig.
Yeah,
and then
I go to your dad and we're like
happily drinking wine and making pizza.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is great. Is this what it's like having a dad that doesn't have to kill everything he eats? Oh, that's awesome. You brought back some bolognese once. That was probably the best thing that I've ever put in my mouth because I am painfully white. I am like neon caucastic. That's what I would describe it as.
Wow.
So like our spaghetti sauce, when you're painfully white, is just meat sauce. But when you brought your dad's sauce back, it had carrots in it. It had peas in it. It was incredible.
Has to have carrots. The holy trinity that you start with are carrots, onion, and celery. Like that's the base. Nothing comes before that other than olive oil.
I will tell you, hey, something I don't know if you noticed or not, but I did put that soup I made this week. I did put some bay leaves in it.
Oh, growth!
Could you tell the difference?
Absolutely.
I didn't put any in it. So.
Never forgive you for that.
Yeah, that's how you know.
Brute.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. Joey in Nashville's next. Hey, Joey.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. What you got?
So I was just trying to figure out, as a young quarterback with Cam Ward, why he's there's 2 points I have. Like, when it comes to scrambling out, if you kind of watch some of those plays, he's actually got 8 to 10 yards to run. The guy's not slow, and he's choosing to throw a 15-yard pass when the run is automatic. So that's the first point. And then it's like the second thing is this: when you're a young quarterback and you look at Lamar Jackson, you look at Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, they all scramble. It's like part of the package to be a success. So, what's the thinking as to, why you're not kind of taking that scramble and keeping the defenses honest?
Thanks for the call, Joey. He's a pocket passer. That's what he is. He's never been a dual threat. Cam Ward has escapability. He kind of rides this line, Robert, where he's so comfortable on the move, throwing on the run. It's almost where he wants to live, it feels like. But yet he's not a scrambling quarterback, if that makes sense. It's never been his game.
Right, and it's kind of funny that I don't disagree with Joey that that's a big part of the game now is making them cover all 11 players on offense. But it's kind of funny how far we've come because that used to be a detriment. That used to be something that he's a college quarterback. That's why he takes off. Like, why didn't you stay in the pocket? Take the hit. Throw the ball down the field. Like, it's funny how the NFL has kind of transformed into this take what they give you instead of play in your spot kind of game. So I don't disagree with Joey that could probably be a bigger part of his game. But also, it's the toughest spot on the football field where he has to weigh every decision the team's going to make. So I understand it, and I imagine that would come with more starts, more experience. He would start to take what's given rather than the hero ball antics, to forcing the ball down the field. We have to get a first down, things of that ilk. So it'll come. It's just not going to come right now.
Yeah, he's going to make his living in his career in the NFL as a pure pocket passer, Cam Ward, certainly with some escapability mixed in. Jason in Old Hickory up next. Hey, Jason.
Hey, man, I was just calling on the whole Mike Borgonzi situation from the interview. And I just think that a lot of things that is not getting talked about much is the fact that he's basically trying to set the culture himself during that interview. Like, he doesn't want players that's going to help this team this season. He wants players that are going to help the team tomorrow's season. Like, and I figured that factored into the whole Jarvis Brownlee trade. It's like, he may be able to help the team this season, but what good is it going to do this season? And I figured that's a good reason why they let go of Jarvis Brownlee.
Thanks for the
I just want to hear your take on it.
Sure. Thanks for the call, Jason. Yeah, the issue with the Brownlee trade was it didn't really get you much that'll help you in future seasons, right? It got you a pick swap where you had a foundational piece, a defender that was thought to be a tone setter, one of these young players, and you sent him up to New York and turned a 6 into a 5th, essentially. But, again, Mike Borgonzi had his reasons. Nate Washington seemed to kind of be, kind of reconcile with those reasons and nitty-gritty details that we'll never know, I'm sure, for the locker room dynamics in the Titans locker room. But I do think Borgonzi did a nice job. We don't have time for the polls today. If we did, they'd be presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. But we did put one out at Lucas Panzica. Did Mike Borgonzi's press conference make you feel better, worse, or the same about the Titans? 71% said better. Been a while since you could say that about a Titans press conference.
Honestly, I can't remember the last one that made me feel that good. Like, was it the Brian Callahan introduction?
Sure. Yeah, because it's Hope and he's the QB guru. And
right?
Yes.
It's like, okay, I'm buying into everything you're saying. That genuinely made me feel, like, at ease. Like, I understand the malaise of most Titans fans to say, like, oh, what's these picks going to do anyway? They're not going to get them right. They're going to mess up these late-round picks. But, like, hearing him talk, I bought in. I bought into what Mike's selling a little bit.
A little bit. So, obviously, there's greater concern about what's above Mike in the Titans front office. And that concern is obviously a product of the product that's been put out over the last few years. So, we'll see. Titans play football again in a week and a half, and all will be calm, I think, until then, and that's a credit to Mike Borgonzi. Thursday Night Football tonight, you can hear it right here on The Zone. Raiders, Broncos, Denver 8.5-point favorites. Do they cover?
I would say yes. And don't anybody complain about it. This is the football that you all wish you had in June. Go watch this game.
Westwood One call tonight on The Zone at 7:15. Cover 2 coming up next. See you guys tomorrow.